call the meeting to order. We can start. Yeah.
Good evening. We're ready to begin. The Plan Commission is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, cable channel number 2, and our closed caption for our hearing impaired viewers. Please note, customers of CenturyLink can view this program in high definition on channel 1002. Would everybody please stand for the pledge? And Chairman Moody.
Well, former chair.
I'm sorry.
You're the chair.
Yes, Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here tonight is Troop 633 with the Copper Crest Ward sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And on Saturday, I spent about an hour with them working on the Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. And that's why they're here tonight. So if it's okay with you, I'd love for these three scouts to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely.
Would you like him to go to the dais? Is that the...
Because they can all put it on the speaker there.
That's perfect. Why don't you guys come right over here in front of the microphones.
Do you want to announce the names for the record, just in case?
Yes, could we get your names and address for the record?
My name is Connor Lee, and I live on Maria del Mar, and my address is 59... Oh, Dad, what is it?
Oh, it's okay, Connor. Hey, thank you. Sir?
Jaden Shaw, and I live on 5607 Mackenzie Park Court.
Thank you.
Evan Joel, and 5607 Mackenzie Park Court.
Thank you. If y'all could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it.
1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, that's nice.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Schlattman.
Present.
Vice Chair Cherry.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn. Here. Commissioner Moody.
Here.
Commissioner Trowbridge.
Here.
Commissioner Creer.
Here.
Commissioner Toussaint.
Present.
Thank you.
I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning the actions and appeal and review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains the rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we could have a smooth meeting. Anybody that wants to see the rules of conduct or the particular agenda items that's coming up tonight, on the right and left side of the half walls, we have the agenda and the rules of conduct. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of time any speaker is allowed, may be limited. All comments made under this specific on this item for specific action items will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to be heard under this portion of the agenda? Please come forward. Can I have your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Jason Krodowski, and my address is 5155 West Tropicana.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Krodowski, and I'm here on behalf of the Culinary Workers Union. I'm here today to bring your attention to 2 recent academic studies that raise serious concerns
sir, let me just
about
ask
the
you,
human
is there a
rights.
particular item that we're going to be hearing tonight that we can bring you back up?
There is not. This is a general comment for the board.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that okay? Okay. I'm here today to bring your attention to 2 recent academic studies that raise serious concerns about the human rights and working conditions of employees at station casinos. As the 3rd largest private employer in Nevada, Station Casinos' occupational safety practices pose a significant public health question for Nevadans. The first report, titled Banking on Unsafe Working Conditions, is authored by Yale and Harvard-educated former UNLV associate professor Fatima E. Maroof, who recently taught courses in international human rights law and was the co-director of Boyd Law School's Immigration Clinic. In the report, the author examines the working conditions of employees at station casinos and raises serious human rights concerns, foremost regarding worker health and safety. The key allegations of human rights issues include inadequate safety gear and precautions, preventable workplace injuries, inadequate protection from abuse by customers, severe mental stress, environmental hazards, inability to take breaks, lack of job security, excessive work without overtime pay, discouragement of freedom of association and collective bargaining, discrimination, and abuse of human dignity. The second report, titled On the Ground Health and Safety Experiences of Non-Union Casino Workers, is authored by Dr. Diana Romero, an associate professor at the City University of New York School of Public Health. The report is the result of a blind study commissioned by the Culinary Workers Union. The findings of the study, which were presented at the American Public Health Association's 2016 conference, present, quote, a grim picture of work conditions related to employee health and safety risks at station casinos properties. Notable findings from the study, which was conducted in 2015, include 84.6% of respondents said that first aid supplies were not easily available at work, and 60.7% of respondents said they feel discriminated against at work. On February 9th, 2017, workers from 9 casino hotels owned and managed by station casinos delivered a petition to their respective human resources departments. The petition was signed by 100 occupational health professionals and calls on station casinos to assure full compliance with its responsibility to protect its workers from health and safety risks. I think you will agree that the findings in these studies raise serious questions about the health and safety of workers at station casinos. As the third largest private employer in the state of Nevada, station casinos' treatment of workers has sizable public health implications. It also has implications for the quality of life of Clark County families and workers in the gaming industry that is the chief engine of our local economy. We urge you to exercise the vast moral authority of your position to demand that station casinos ensures full compliance with its obligations to provide a safe and healthful work environment for its employees. Thank you for your time, and I have copies of the study for all the commissioners and for the record.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Paola Felix. My address 3609 Tabor Avenue.
Thank you.
I'm a guest room attendant at Green Valley Ranch. I'm here today to bring your attention to 2 academic studies about working conditions at station casinos. Please take this issue seriously and fix it any way you can.
Thank you so much. Anybody else wanting to be heard, please come forward.
I'm here about agenda item 40 for a special use permit application.
Okay.
And the matter has actually been withdrawn by the applicant. So we don't know if we still need to make statements in opposition. It was withdrawn on February 26th. Okay.
Ma'am, can we
I'll
get your
go
name
ahead.
for the record?
I guess, Mr. Chairman, if the applicant's asked it for the item to be withdrawn, once you do the housekeeping items, you will include that in your withdrawal approval motions. So after that point, there will be no item to discuss, and they won't have to come up and discuss it.
Right, that's what we thought too.
So
Will it be
they'll
withdrawn?
need to
Should
vote
we
on it
not?
first in order for it to be formally withdrawn,
Okay, do we need to stay for the meeting?
just until the chairman does the housekeeping items.
I would just stay in the audience for the next 5 minutes.
Okay,
and
because we
we'll-
want to make sure that it's withdrawn.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
And what
you.
was your name?
Oh, Terry Lynch, 2727 Alta Drive.
Thank
And it's
you.
regarding a special use permit application for 2701 Alta Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other comments, the public hearing, public comment portion of this agenda is over. Moving on to item number 5, for possible action to approve the minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of February 14th, 2017.
Through the chair, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of February 14th, 2017.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please post. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Thank you. Noting the abstention. Moving on to item number 6, possible action. Any items from the Planning Commission staff or the applicants that wish to be stricken or held in abeyance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon this time. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, items 17, 18, and 19, GPA 67883, ZON 67884, SDR 68324. The applicant has requested that these items be tabled. Item number 40, SUP 68681, the applicant requests this item be withdrawn without prejudice. And item 41, SDR 68470, the applicant requests this item be held in abeyance to the May 9th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? If so, please come forward.
Good evening, Commissioner. Keith Letus, 6604 Manzanita Glen Avenue, President of the Timber Creek Neighborhood Association on items 17, 18, 19. Just that I came down here for those items and not knowing when they'll be back, kind of like to say something to be incorporated to the record or hear something tonight or know when they come back. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those items will require a full notification when they do come back, if they come back. So all of the neighbors will be notified if those items return.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if they don't return within 6 months, then they just die.
Anyone else wishing to be heard, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. Marty Harson, 2955 Alaris Court, Sparks, Nevada, actually. I'm here in reference to item 42. I would like to know if that could be moved forward. Didn't realize how late we were going to go. I'm trying to catch a flight back to Reno at 10 o'clock. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Vice Chair.
Through the chair, if there's no discussion, I would make a motion on the housekeeping items 17, 18, 19. The applicant requests this item to be tabled. Item 40, applicant requests this item be withdrawn without prejudice. And item 41, applicant requests this item be held in abeyance to the May 9th, 2017 Planning Commission. Make a motion for approval on these.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. The motion carries. Moving on to the one motion, one vote portion of this agenda, starting with item number 7, GPA 68639, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request for a general plan amendment to amend the master plan of streets and highways to designate 26 streets within the Las Vegas Medical District in downtown Las Vegas as collector streets on a master plan of streets and highways, Ward 3, Coffin, and Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. Item number 8, VAR 65290, applicant owner, DR Horton, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 75-foot lot width where 80 feet is required on Lot 28, a proposed 95-lot single-family residential subdivision at the southeast corner of Elkhorn Road and Tenaya Way, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends approval. Item number 9, SUP 67880, applicant owner, Farm and Durango Investors, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,400 square foot liquor establishment tavern on the southeast corner of Farm Road and Durango Drive, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends approval. Number 10, SUP 67881, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed gaming establishment, restricted license with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from single-family detached dwellings where 333 feet is required, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends approval. Number 11, SUP 68757, applicant High Virtue LLC, owner Gerby Investments LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 4,000 square foot tavern limited establishment use with a 2,000 square foot outdoor seating area at 1007 and 1009 South Main Street, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Related item number 12, SUP 68758, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a 4,000 square foot nightclub use with the 2,000 square foot outdoor seating area, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Item 13, SUP 68729, applicant Ono's Island Barbecue, owner Poly Global Investments LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit to allow existing open-air vending use barbecue cart adjacent to a residentially zoned property to have a 24-hour operation where 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. is permitted at 5740 West Charleston Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 14, SUP 68768, applicant owner 707 Fremont LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a tattoo parlor, body piercing studio use at 707 Fremont Street, Suite 1140, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Item number 15, SDR 68741, applicant Del Taco Corporate Office, owner MLK Mariah Pure LLC, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 2,420 square foot restaurant with a drive-through on the west side of Martin Luther King Boulevard, north of Mount Moriah Drive, Ward 5, Barlow. Staff recommends approval. Number 16, SNC 68710, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request for a street name change from Goldring Avenue to Bearden Drive to Wellness Way between Tonopah Drive and Desert Lane, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends approval. This is a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard in any of these items, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for further discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff would like to make some clarifications on some conditions as part of the one motion, one vote. Item number 10, SUP 67881, to amend condition number 4 to read, a waiver from the Town Center Development Standards is hereby approved, to allow a 0-foot distance separation from single-family detached dwellings where 330 feet is required. In relation to item number 15, SDR 68741, I'd like to amend conditions number 2 and number 10. Number 2 would read as follows. All development shall be in conformance with the site plan and building elevations, date stamped January 31st, 2017, and landscape plan date stamped March 8th, 2017, except as amended by conditions herein. And condition number 10 would read as follows. Correct all Americans with Disabilities Act, parentheses ADA, deficiencies on the sidewalk on Martin Luther King Boulevard in accordance with the code requirements of Title 13.56.040 to satisfaction of the city engineer concurrent with the development of this site. All existing paving damages or removed by this development shall be restored at its original location and to its original width concurrent with the development of this site. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant for number 10 present? Mr. Garcia.
Chairman, Commissioners, George Garcia, 1055 Whitney Ranch Drive, Suite 210. Pleasure to be before you. We concur with the condition as read by staff.
And that's for item number 10?
Correct.
Thank you. Is the applicant for item number 15 present? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Elena Ariano with LAS Consulting, 1930 Village Center Circle, Las Vegas, 89134. We concur with the revised conditions as imposed by staff, and we thank you for your assistance.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just to note, abstention on item number 11. I own a tavern which is within notification area, or urban lounge within the notification area. So I'll be abstaining on item number 11, and also 707 Fremont Street. That was a project that I originally built out. So therefore, due to my ongoing business relationship with the applicant, I'll be abstaining on item number 14 as well. So noting the applicant's acceptance of the condition changes on item number 10 and 15, and my abstention on 11 and 14. Can we have a motion?
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve items number 7 through 16, noting the condition changes on 10 and 15, and your abstentions on 11 and 14.
Will you be abstaining on related item 12 as well?
Yes, thank you. I
Thank
will
you.
be abstaining on related item 12 as well. Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, item 7 will be heard at City Council on April 19, 2017. Items 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 will be final action unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days. Item 13 will be heard at City Council on April 19, 2017. Items 14 and 15 are final action unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days. And item 16 will be heard at City Council on April 19, 2017.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Moving on to items 20, and I'm also going to bring forward item number 43 to be heard together. So item 20, abeyance item MOD 68579, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request for a major modification to Town Center Land Use Plan to amend map 4 to add the MCTC Montecito Town Center Land Use Designation, remove the Montecito Town Center Mixed-Use Commercial Overlay Designation located on north of Clark County 215, east of Durango Drive, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends approval. And item number 43, under Director's Business, abeyance TXT 68323, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request to remove all references to the Montecito Town Center Development Agreement, which expires on April 7, 2017, to amend the Town Center Development Standards Manual to incorporate the standards of the area covered by the development agreement as a town center land use district, and to provide for other related matters. Staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chairman, if I might real quick, making the presentation for the department today is Mr. Fred Solis, who you know, but we also have a new planner, Mr. Lorenzo Mastino, who's making his first presentation to the commission. He's a planner in our department.
Good evening. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to give a brief background, and then I'll turn over to Lorenzo here. He'll give you the specifics on the text and the MOD. As far as background is concerned, the Montecito Plan Area is currently governed by the Montecito Development Agreement, which expires in April of 2017. The proposed TXT and MOD will create a new land use in Town Center called MCTC, Montecito Town Center. That land use will be specific to the Montecito area within Town Center. The goal of the new land use designation is to allow for the uses and standards currently permitted by a development agreement while ensuring the continued protections for the nearby residential properties. The Montecito Plan Area consists of 202 acres, and currently 51 are undeveloped. The staff has conducted its outreach. We had a neighborhood meeting, and there was approximately 10 members in attendance. We had a separate meeting and mailing held specifically for those property owners with undeveloped property within the Montecito area. We have also received approximately 15 comments, received via email and phone calls. Lorenzo?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Lorenzo Mastino, Planning Department, Long Range Division, for the record. I want to start by talking about the area, the planning area that is affected by the mod and the text amendment. What you see depicted in the map on the right side of the slide, that large blue area, that is what currently is under the Montecito Development Agreement, the Montecito overlay, and it's exactly the same area that we're asking for the approval of this major modification. So it is the same parcels that we are redesigning as Montecito MCTC land use designation. It's about 202 acres, and they're generally bound by Elkhorn Road to the north, Dobrook Trail to the east, CC 215 to the south, and Durango Drive to the west. One thing that I want to point out for the record is that the image that you're looking at right now, it's the current one that you have received in your package. It was a blue sheet illustration, which has been slightly revised from the earlier version of it. And I also want to point out that the boundaries of the MCTC Montecito district shall not be expanded, and requests to modify a land use district to MCTC Montecito outside the established boundaries are not permitted. Now, that's a quote from the actual text amendment, and we inserted that language because the Montecito agreement had very specific requirements and standards, and also in terms of permitted uses, and we did not want to further expand those into areas that were outside the original Montecito agreement area. Second element, the uses within the MCTC Montecito land use designation. We have created a new column in the Town Center Development Standards Manual for this new land use. And our goal was to permit all uses that were previously permitted under the Montecito Development Agreement within the new land use designation. So that's what we did. We had to convert some of outdated uses, but we were able to do that. Now, 3 uses that we could not fit within the uses that are in the Town Center Development Standards Manual permitted uses table are the banquet facility use, the pawn shop use, and facility to provide testing, treatment, or counseling for drug or alcohol abuse. For those that were previously in the land use table in the Montecito agreement, we're actually importing those 3 uses in the Town Center Manual. However, we're very explicit that those will not be permitted outside of the MCTC land use designation. Third point on this, being consistent with the Montecito Development Agreement, special use permits within the proposed MCTC Montecito land use designation do not have any additional requirements or conditions beyond a public hearing. City Council, however, may put conditions to such uses. Third element I want to talk about is the development standards for this new land use designation. Building height, stepbacks, and build-to-line standards for the MCTC Montecito land use designation will be governed by the applicable zone of the Town Center Development Standards Manual. And that is contained in Map 5 in the manual. It's the image that you can see on the right side. So depending on which zone, there are different standards. However, being consistent again with the Montecito Development Agreement, additional height will be permitted within this land use designation, subject to the approval of an SDR, site development review, and a special use permit approval will be required for developments in excess of 12 stories or 150 feet, up to a maximum of 500 feet. More on the development standards. Luckily, many of the standards that were in the Montecito Development Agreement for the overlay already referenced or mirrored the Town Center Development Standards Manual. So we're able to incorporate those, and those standards will apply to the MCTC Montecito land use designation. Now, some of this, these standards that we're talking about are street design, streetscapes, lighting, setbacks, walls, screen walls, fences, the 20% open space requirement, and signage standards. And to conclude, another thing that we carried over from the Montecito Development Agreement to the Town Center Development Standards Manual is the Timberlake Buffer Area, which has been incorporated as figure number 38 in the manual. you do have the representation in your package that has been slightly modified to be consistent with the description contained in the Montecito Development Agreement. And you should have that in your package, the blue sheet that you received. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I would open it up for questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any comments. I agree with staff's recommendations on both items 20 and 43, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
Thank you. Please do.
Regarding item 20, MOD 68579, my motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, with regard to item 43, my motion is also to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, item 20 will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017, and item 43 will be forwarded to City Council in.
Thank
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to bring item 42 forward. And item number 42 is SDR 68652, applicant owner, refrigeration supplies distributor, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 28,650 square foot industrial building with waivers of downtown Centennial Plan streetscape and service area screening requirements at 1901, 1907 Western Avenue, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, staff has recommended denial of the project due to the number of waivers requested from the downtown Centennial Plan. In addition to the lack of conformance to the Centennial Plan standards, the loading dock location created some locations create some delivery vehicle circulation issues, which would necessitate a semi-tractor or trailers using a portion of Western Avenue right-of-way in order to engage the loading dock. This may cause an obstruction of the northbound traffic lane, even though there is parking on-street parallel to the curb, and will completely block pedestrian traffic on the sidewalk. Staff is not in support of the waiver request as there is a life and health and safety issue involved. Staff has communicated this with the applicant, and the applicant has expressed willingness to alleviate the issue. However, staff has not received revised drawings to date. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Marty Harson, 2955 Alvarez Court, Sparks, Nevada. In discussion, I guess timing-wise, receiving comments back from Paul Bankston, our senior planner. Not a problem in terms of making that truck dock, and we'll recess it back into the building to facilitate the truck not going out onto Western Avenue. And then I can allow Sam to discuss the civil aspects of that.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Sam Dunham, 4031 South Dean Martin Drive. I'm the civil engineer for this project. In regards to the truck dock, I spoke with Victor Bolognios in traffic, and he said that with Project Neon coming on board, Western Avenue is going to see a significant increase in traffic. So with that, I agreed to give him the displays and that we would recess this truck dock enough so that our truck movement on site would not impinge into public right-of-way. And so I'm going to do that next week, and before we submit plans for review. So Victor was in agreement with that. We have an understanding that I'm going to give him the necessary documents to see the truck movements on site will alleviate his concerns. Staff had a second request for a 5-foot planter adjacent to the curb with a 5-foot detached sidewalk. We are offering as an alternative a 5-foot sidewalk adjacent to the curb and a 15-foot planter. Now what this does, this better aligns with the project that is to the north of us that also has a sidewalk at back of curb and a planter, not near 15 feet that we have. It's more on the order of an 8 or a 9-foot planter. South of us, the project has planter adjacent to the curb and no sidewalk. So this is kind of an area that's in transition. Some of these buildings are older buildings and are being reused, as in our case, we demoed the buildings and are starting over. The reason I want to keep the sidewalk at back of curb is there's a large amount of surface water in Western Avenue during the 100-year storm. The sidewalk adjacent to curb will help us keep some of that landscape material from ending up in public right-of-way when that water gets very deep. If we have the planter adjacent to the curb, anybody splashing that with their cars or doing whatever, it's going to take that landscape rock, stuff like that, put it in public right-of-way, wash it on down the street for the city to clean up. So with that, I can entertain any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Commissioner Trowbridge.
Well, if there's no discussion, I'd be willing to make the motion for approval subject to all staff conditions with the understanding that the applicant would meet with city staff prior to this going to the city council on April 19th to resolve that issue and resubmit any documents that are required.
Commissioner Trowbridge, would that be a condition? And this is your motion, but
yes,
would you be willing to make a condition that they wouldn't pull out onto Western Avenue and back in as they agreed to do earlier?
Certainly.
And would you all agree to that?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, well, there was a motion put on the table, and I do respect Commissioner Trowbridge. I just thought we would be looking at new plans in a few weeks versus just voting on it and then sending it forward with the plans coming along with it. But if that's what you think is okay, Commissioner Schlottman, then I would follow the lead of the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Quinn.
That was just my point.
And Commissioner Creer, and I apologize, Commissioner Trowbridge, I didn't know there's other comments before you hopped out and made a motion. So Commissioner Creer.
Thank you. I feel uncomfortable approving on something that is not really here, that I don't really see. I know there's conditions put on it, but there are a lot of conditions that is being changed. I would feel comfortable if it came back to us so we could look at it and see what it is, and instead of having so many conditions. We talked about the planter, you talked about the sidewalk, all these different things that are going on, and I would feel more comfortable if I saw it, exactly what it is, because you also made a good point about the planter and the rocks coming in, but I haven't heard staff have a chance to review that and if that makes sense or not. So I personally feel more comfortable if it came back to us, completed, the package complete, and we would vote on it.
Okay. Well, there is a motion on the floor. There is the backup, that we're all given that shows the sidewalk that city staff has reviewed and we've all reviewed at the back of curb. So the only thing that we haven't reviewed would be the the truck pullout location. So. Anyways, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I can clarify on the condition, or is it a direction? Because there's a direction to work with staff, and then if there's a condition about the on-site traffic movements, I could provide all on-site loading dock activities shall be conducted on-site, which means it can't spill off-site if you...
Yes, would you please give us a condition and state a condition that would be appropriate for this?
The condition would read, all on-site loading dock activities shall be conducted on-site. Secondly, the applicant has requested something in conflict with one of the conditions of approval regarding the streetscape design. He was mentioning a 5-foot sidewalk and a 15-foot landscape buffer. The full length of the property, and there is a condition that allows it only on the northern portion, but then requires the Centennial standard going south of the northern driveway. Just to complicate it even more.
I apologize. I do not understand what you're talking about. I do understand the 5-foot, and Glenn, I think just,
so
can we retract the motion just so we can open discussion on this for 1
Yeah,
second?
it's fine to retract the motion. I
Okay.
think that we're becoming incredibly complex here.
Yes.
When it was something that they've already agreed to do, but
Okay.
we can talk about it a while.
And I agree with the motion, but I just want further clarification. I mean, because the site plan that was submitted that is in our backup actually shows a sidewalk at the back of curb, and then a landscape area behind that 5-foot sidewalk. So that would be, if you give me 1 second. So along Western Avenue would have the 5-foot wide sidewalk with the vegetation behind the 5-foot.
So, Mr. Chairman, as requested from the applicant, Mr. Donovan can clarify if I'm mistaken, is that they're requesting to do a 5-foot sidewalk and then the 15-foot landscape buffer back of the sidewalk. The condition number 3 that's in the site development review states, a waiver from the downtown Centennial Plan streetscape standards is hereby approved to allow a 5-foot wide sidewalk at the back of the curb with a 15-foot wide landscape planter on the portion of the site north of the northernmost driveway. The remainder of the site shall comply with standards. So only that northern portion that's on the overhead would be approved with the waiver to be a 5-foot sidewalk with 15 landscape buffer. The remaining portion would have to comply with the Centennial Standard, which would be a 5-foot amenity, 10-foot sidewalk. If you're accommodating the request, then we would have to amend condition number 3 and basically just put a period and cut off the last portion of the condition. So if that's the case, I'll read what the amended condition would be.
Before you read that amended condition, I have to ask, is that what the applicant's looking for?
We're trying to be easy here. So if you guys, I mean, if the board wants a 5-foot planter and a detached sidewalk for 10 feet for this portion of it, we're okay with that.
But what's the difference between, you know, the north side and the south side?
Well, what Peter's saying is what I show here is just fine. What Peter wants here is a 5-foot planter adjacent to curb and a 10-foot sidewalk. What I'm offering here is a 5-foot sidewalk at back of curb, and behind that a 15-foot planter. So really the issue is, where do you want the rocks? Adjacent to the curb or behind the sidewalk? Am I correct, Peter?
In so many words, yes, but it wouldn't necessarily be rock. There's the Centennial Standard, which would be tree planters and
Right,
concrete.
but the ground cover is, in general, is going to be a hardscape.
But look, I understand the downtown Centennial Plan like very well. I mean, there's a 5-foot amenity zone, a 10-foot sidewalk, and the 10-foot sidewalk is all concrete. The 5-foot amenity zone that's at the back of the curb is street trees every 20 to 25 feet, and there's certain species of trees that you have to use. So, and yes, do I like that? Yes, in downtown and the particular areas where I'm building, and all of downtown where we're building residential and commercial, is that necessary on Western? I'm not necessarily sure that, you know, that we have to have 10 feet of, or 5 feet of concrete with a tree every 20 feet, and then another 10 feet. So virtually we have 15 feet of concrete versus, you know, street trees with you know, the landscaping, the additional 10-foot landscaping that you're proposing right there, I don't have an issue with that. You're putting more landscaping in along Western in that particular area than what we'd be putting in downtown, and you're not going to have the pedestrian traffic that we would have if we're directly in downtown. So I think this is appropriate for the area.
Thank you.
Does anyone, Mr. Creer, you have your microphone on?
You summed up what I was thinking.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Trowbridge, can we have a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve item number 42, subject to all staff conditions.
With the amended condition, and would you read that into the record, Mr. Lowenstein?
That would be amended condition number 3, and it would read as follows: a waiver from the downtown Centennial Plan. Streetscape standards is hereby approved to allow a 5-foot wide sidewalk at back of curb with a 15-foot wide landscape planter. And I don't know if you want the added condition, which was mentioned before, which was all on-site loading dock activity shall be conducted on-site.
Yes.
And would you all agree to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, motion's on the floor.
Motion's on the floor. Additionally, what they're proposing is additional landscaping beyond what it's required by the codes that are being quoted. Also, it would provide for a consistent look in front of the property, rather than having one side of the driveway look one way and the other side of the driveway look the other. It just, in this case, doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agree 100%. Thank you. Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. And this is final action?
Mr. Chairman, this item will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 21, abeyance CON 68403, applicant owner Capital Foresight Golf and Fitness LLC et al. For a possible action on a request for rezone from C1 Limited Commercial and C2 General Commercial to C2 General Commercial at 1213 and 1215 South Las Vegas Boulevard and 516 Park Paseo, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends approval. Item number 22, abeyance SDR 68404 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 15-story mixed-use development consisting of 370 residential units and 16,060 square feet of retail space, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the development proposes a design which steps the building height back from the rear of the site adjacent to the single-family residential dwellings from 88 feet towards the front of the site, fronting Las Vegas Boulevard at 195 feet, which greatly reduces the visual impact of the existing John S. Park neighborhood. The proposed use and design of this proposal will make a positive contribution to the urban design for the residents in the immediate area and the community at large. Staff recommends approval of the requested rezoning and site development plan review. Please note additional letters of protest have been received after the publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ilan Gorodetsky. I'm the owner of 1213, 1215, 1201 South Las Vegas Boulevard. I want to thank everybody for hearing us tonight. I came in 2010 to Las Vegas, and I purchased a distressed property that was a nuisance by the city. In fact, I was here before all of you guys where the mayor said, we need more people like him. I came here and I opened the Super 8 motel at the old 1213 South Las Vegas Boulevard. Created a lot of jobs, spent a lot of money. Then I bought the neighbors, and for Councilman Coffin request, we put a parking lot. We did that, trees, lights, everything. Then I bought another distressed property, Aruba, the famous Aruba, which was run by $99 a week. That was a place where nobody could walk near it. I bought it because it was a nuisance to me and to the city. I put a lot of money over there. Today it's called Thunderbird Lounge and Hotel. It's a boutique hotel. We have more than 50 employees all over. We have a restaurant, bar, wedding chapel, showroom. We're paying more room tax than the entire street from Sahara, except Stratosphere, all the way to downtown. We employ more people than anybody. You can walk in the street thanks to us today. I've been here for six and a half years, spent close to $20 million of my own money. Actually, the bank, when I bought the note, the first note, they pulled my line of credit. They say, you're crazy. Well, today, we have a great property, we have a great asset, and I'm here to share with you a vision, a property that will fit to everyone. This will create hundreds of jobs. This is what the area needs. I mean, think about Fremont back in the day. Nobody could walk there. Look at Fremont today. This area is the old Fremont. We need this project, and it's not just about me personally. It's about the whole area. And I'm here to ask your support. Staff is already approving it, recommended and approved, as you hear. And I'm here to answer any question. I mean, we have the financing in place in case it's coming through. We have it way secure. We don't need any loans or anything like that. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman. Commissioners, Ed Vance with EV&A Architects, 900 South Pavilion Center Drive, as the architect representing the owner. At your behest last week? Week before. We met with the neighborhood group yet again and made our presentation to a group maybe a little larger than we had the first time. And we got a number of comments, some positive and some not so. Height restriction or the height of the project is their number one concern, view corridors. But I would tell you and submit to you that this project has been designed in such a way that, in my mind, as an architect and an urban planner, it could serve as a prototype for other mid-rise projects across the country, being respectful of neighborhoods like John S. Park, where we've tapered the project starting at a much lower level and tapering it toward the more urban side of Las Vegas Boulevard. The other issue we brought up is traffic study. We would submit to you that we would accept that as a condition of approval and be respectful of those comments during the time when we submit our building permits. One of the things that we heard also was how lush is the landscaping. Where 24-inch box trees along the perimeter of the backside of the project are required at 20 foot on center, we're providing 36-inch box trees, more mature, at 15 foot on center. So we met that requirement, and I think that the 100-foot setback off of that sidewalk where none is, off the back property line or the side property line is required, where none is required, is also showing good faith. I am in keeping with the planning staff's recommendation and would ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. And if there's multiple people that want to be heard, I'd please ask y'all to come sit in the front row. And we have 3 mics, so please load up the 3 mics. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. David Figler. I'm the president of the John S. Park neighborhood. I live at 1302 South 6th Street. Before I begin, there was one additional letter of protest that I'd like to enter into the record. This comes from our County Commissioner, Chris June Kiliani, who also lives in the John S. Park neighborhood, indicating her strong opposition for it. It really does speak for itself. I'd like to enter that into the record as well from Commissioner June Kiliani.
Thank you.
As the president of the John S. Park neighborhood, we were at the neighborhood meeting. I believe this was the only one that was actually properly noticed with enough time for residents to participate, and that the participation was much greater than the first, probably by 5-fold, and all the neighbors were there. And because of my position as president, I did have the opportunity to speak with most of the neighbors after the meeting as well, and got their position as to how the neighborhood directly impacted by this project feels. With very few and limited exception, the vast majority of the neighborhood is in opposition of this. If I might just for a moment give a little bit of history and background, and then the specific concerns that we have about giving these entitlements to this particular project at this time. I also would like to say that I am disappointed that the owner applicant was present here today, but not upon our invitation at the neighborhood open house or the meeting that they had with us. There were a number of questions that were posed to his representative, including how much financing would this take, was the cost of the project, do you have it in place? And we were told in no uncertain terms that the 90 million plus project did not have its financing in place, which sparked an entire portion of the conversation. And so I feel that that's conflicting information. Bottom line is that this project is, and a significant part of this project is in the John S. Park historic neighborhood. Some years ago, as many of the commissioners must know, there was a concerted effort. In fact, it was a 2-year effort to come up with a neighborhood plan, which was then adopted by the city and incorporated into all future plans. It has not been rescinded, it has not been modified, it has not been changed or updated, but it is the plan that is in place. There was a discussion about the height restrictions. Part of the negotiations between business concerns, between stakeholders, between all of the parties who participate in that 2-year John S. Park neighborhood plan was a compromise of 5 stories, possibly, just depending on the height restriction, but it was a 5-foot restriction as the compromise on how high any properties would go, residential or otherwise, that are abutting or that would be in the John S. Park neighborhood. And again, a significant portion of this property is in the John S. Park neighborhood. There was a conversation with the architects who said, well, that's not codified, so we don't have to adhere to that. I would defer to the city attorney, and I'd be interested in what Mr. Scott has to say or what the director would have to say. In the absence of there being a discussion of the height, we were always under the impression and still remain under the impression, it's Commissioner Drew Kiliani's position, as she noted in her letter, and it is mine as well as an attorney and as the neighborhood president for a number of years, that not only does deference have to be given to that height restriction, but that neighborhood plan is part of a limitation and should have been taken into account by staff. In the event that it isn't, I think that there is a serious concern that this Planning Commission should be looking at when it's talking about putting major height type of developments abutting the historic single residential neighborhood. I feel that the whole idea was that we wouldn't be doing this sort of spot entitlement that has come up over the years, which the neighborhood has uniformly and universally and consistently opposed, both at planning and at city council. Quite frankly, it's becoming somewhat exhausting that these projects, many of which are fantasy type projects, which will never get the actual funding in place, are asking for these entitlement changes, for asking for rezoning on a spot by spot basis, which is not part of a comprehensive plan, which is not part of a short-term, medium-term, or a long-term plan. If the idea is that this narrow area on the historic byway, Las Vegas Boulevard, between Oakey and Charleston, which abuts the historic neighborhood, is going to go sky high, 15 stories or more, that needs to be part of an open process with neighbor participation, with stakeholder participation, and part of a comprehensive plan for rezoning. Right now, it is mixed, C1 and C2. The part that they want to change is in the John S. Park neighborhood. That should be a non-starter. No entitlement should be given to this property or any other property in this area. They shouldn't get the site review. They shouldn't get the zone change. They shouldn't get anything unless what they want to do is go and get zone changes through city council or through text amendments or through whatever it is, but it has to be part of a comprehensive plan, which it is not. So the neighbors are once again, as they were with the Aztec property, as they were with the Titanic, as they were with any number of projects affecting these areas, up against a project that looks good, that can have appeal to a lot of people, that seems to solve as a unicorn all the problems that anyone would have. We take respectful disagreement with the visual component of it into the neighborhood that was not adequately explained, the amount of time and disruption to the neighborhood, which is why we were talking about traffic studies, dust studies, site plans, all the things that should be in place. Whether they're technically required by planning or code or not, what you're talking about is absolutely having a major negative impact on the neighborhood. Now, I appreciate wanting to clean up the area, to utilize those properties in a better way, to encourage development, to have more residential density downtown. All of these are very important concepts, and all concepts which need to be made part of any comprehensive plan. But an experiment of this nature on our historic district is, quite frankly, an offense to everything that we have done. I appreciate the jobs and the effort to clean up the Aruba and the Super 8 that the applicant has made. That's great. That's what he bought, and he's a businessman. Hopefully he's doing that to be able to turn a profit. But of the hundreds of homes and the thousands of residents who exist not only in the historic Jonas Park neighborhood, but in all the abutting neighborhoods, many of whom were also participating in this open house, to universally discount our energies, our efforts, our vision, the work that we did over 15 years ago to come up with a fair, compromise, and comprehensive neighborhood plan, to have that ignored by planning, to have that ignored by really any applicant who buys those properties, is really an affront to a very unique, very special property. And so it is with the weight of the majority of the residents in our neighborhood and the abutting neighborhoods, Beverly Green, Southridge, Huntridge, that we do not allow this precedent to move forward, that the applicant do what he needs to do if he feels it to change the process, to make this more of a comprehensive part of something. But he knew what he bought into, and to ask for zone changing and for these type of accommodations is absolutely inappropriate. We'd ask that all of the commissioners vote against this project and allow them to do things that are more in line with what has been and what is universally accepted as part of the Jonas Park plan.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jonelle Thomas, 1509 South, 5th Place. I'm in the Jonas Park neighborhood. I'm not going to repeat everything that David said. I agree completely. I would like to note specifically my concerns about traffic. 5th Place and 6th Street run parallel to Las Vegas Boulevard. 6th Street provides a nice thoroughfare to Sahara. We have houses without sidewalks on those streets. We have kids playing, elderly people walking their dogs, who are all forced out into the street. If this project is allowed, there will be 370 units of 1 or 2 people a piece, assuming these are 400 square foot units. I don't know how much of a market there is for that, but assuming it actually happened, they would be using 5th Place and 6th Street as a major means of egress for getting to the south. Las Vegas Boulevard accommodates traffic heading north, not those heading south. Without the sidewalks, without a traffic study, we are left to only conclude that this is going to create major problems, especially on those 2 streets. I'm also concerned about the lack of parking. There's less than 1 parking spot per unit. Las Vegas, for the most part, is not a commuter town or a bicycling riding, bus riding town. I think people who would be buying units at this price point would likely have cars, and that only leads extra parking back into the neighborhood because spots won't be available. The neighbors are going to be impacted by the construction phase if this happens, and we would like to know the plan for dust abatement, for noise abatement, for how much impact is this going to have on the neighborhoods, but none of this information is available. This is our only opportunity to come to you and express our concerns. We're told that the planning staff will take care of that, but there's no formal mechanism for them to consult with the people who live nearby who would absolutely be impacted by that process. And so for those reasons, as well as the reasons that David gave, I think this is incompatible with the neighborhood. I think it's much too dense for that property, and the views that would be blocked are yet another consideration. So I urge you to vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Yes, Mike Ganson, Vice President of the Jonas Park neighborhood, 1100 South 6th Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89104. I find it kind of odd that I haven't seen June Kiliani in the neighborhood for years. I really don't think she lives in the neighborhood. And for her to submit a letter, as we all know, I think she lives up in Mount Charleston, right? I never see there. She might own property there, is to the best of my knowledge, but I think it's just not appropriate that she submit a letter and use her undue influence into this process when she just was brought on board by a group of elitists that live in the neighborhood that want to control everything. And I attended the meetings, and the people that I talked with, they were for it. And don't let Mr. Figler tell you different. Everybody knows the value of this, that it's going to increase everybody's property values and clean up the neighborhood. And as opposed to an alternative, maybe I know a little bit about building, and the owner could put in 5 stories with 0 lot line right up to the edge there and put 400 units in there without any of this. I think they've done a great job and spent quite a bit of money coming up with a creative idea to solve this problem in our neighborhood, which is the lack of investment and the lack of doors or keys or room keys or whatever you want to call it. We need this downtown. You can talk to the Oak Tree group, the 5 Points group. There's just not enough people here driving the economy. And the idea for these elitists to come here, these informational specialists to tell us what's good for us, they had an opportunity in the beginning to include the commercial properties into the John S. Park neighborhood, but they refused to do it. So, I didn't understand why not. Why can't we have the commercial people be involved in the historic designation? No, they didn't want them. They wanted to control them from the outside and manipulate them like they're trying to do now, and come up and say this and say that. But the bottom line is, we need this development down there. The place is terrible. It's Fremont Street today, and the idea that we also need to have a comprehensive plan from them on a truck route, to be the best way to put it. So we need to get something put into the record for truck routes out of the neighborhood. No trucks in the neighborhood, turn left onto Las Vegas Boulevard, no egress or access via the neighborhood. Because the streets aren't designed for truck hauling. They'll tear it up. And then the other one, during construction development, they need to work with the city to provide parking. So we don't want to have any construction parking in the neighborhood. And I think the idea of the structure is looks real good, and most of the neighbors are for it that I spoke with at the meeting. A majority of them that I spoke with, the majority of the people, they were all for it. Build it, is what they said. And it's just this core of elitists here that are telling us what we should be doing. And I think that's not appropriate. It's their property. They had opportunity to bring them into the group early on in the development of the historic district, but they refused to do it. So, and this is the consequence that they have to live with. But I think they're willing to work with the community and provide appropriate construction staging and access to the property, as far as notifying the community about road closures and whatever else that goes on with development anywhere else on the Strip. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Jean Asmussen, 718 Park Paseo. I am also totally against this building. I will not repeat the same issues that David has said and Jonelle. I have been in my house since 1984. It is a smaller to modest house. I am a long way from being an elitist. When I made some remodeling changes to my home, I had to follow all the steps with the Historical Association and the city planning to make minor changes, just 2 walls and just some windows. I followed the rules that were in existence. I have been in my home since 1984. I did participate in the neighborhood discussions and compromises that went with the city, wanted to protect us and make us a historic neighborhood. We agreed we wanted the 3-story, we compromised at the 5-story. To each time somebody wants to come in and build something to make us the insignificant, non-pertinent details is, again, we have been in the neighborhood, we continue to be in the neighborhood. We want to improve the neighborhood. We've all made efforts to improve our homes, made things nice, keep the streets open, and for businesses to start coming in and wanting to change all that, again, does go against everything that we consider the necessary standards to keep a neighborhood a profitable and well-maintained and desirable neighborhood.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello, my name's Michelle Laramie. I live at 556 Ellen Way. I actually live in Beverly Green, which is the historic neighborhood just to the south of John S. Park. And I am here to, Polly Schmidt, our president, I'm sorry, couldn't be here today, but she did submit a letter this morning, and I'm here just to represent some of our thoughts as the neighborhood in her place. Instead of repeating what David said, I'll just echo his sentiments as a new historic neighborhood in the area. With a very similar layout adjacent to Las Vegas Boulevard, we share many of the same development issues and struggles with people coming in and looking at these properties for these large developments. And we believe it would set a dangerous precedent which could be trickled down and start to interrupt our neighborhood as well. So we at this time don't support the proposed development. And I would also just like to say I do agree with David when he talked about coming together and forming a more comprehensive plan for this particular area of Las Vegas Boulevard. We certainly don't want to oppose new development. We would like to see new projects coming in, but it would be much easier for the residents in both of these areas to come together and decide on a plan overall rather than continue to exhaust our efforts against these projects that don't seem feasible and don't follow the current ordinances or conditions that have been put into place. That's it.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Barbara Ganson, 1100 South 6th Street, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm for this project. I think it's great. It's a great improvement to the neighborhood. I like the design. I think it's good that it sweeps away from the neighborhood. I don't see that there's a problem as far as view into the neighborhood. They've added plenty of landscaping as far as that goes. And I just think it's a fine project. I'd like to agree with the staff to go ahead and approve it. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Bill Limborg, 1215 South Las Vegas Boulevard. I'm representing Capital Foresight, Lon's partner in this transaction. And I'm here to say that a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago, we looked at co-investing with Elon on this project with the Super 8 and the Aruba Hotel. Many in our organizations thought that he was absolutely crazy, that they didn't see the foresight in what's happening in that part of the community. Today we're very, very bullish that this project stabilizes the neighborhood. I think more housing that we have, you have such a beautiful transition occurring on Main. You have restaurants coming, you have the bars, you have the movie center that we toured today. You have newer projects. Fremont 9, which is, again, kind of on an island on its own. We think that this would be very complementary to the neighborhood, and it would actually support some of the businesses in the Arts District. So we're here to say we want to be good neighbors. I think Elon has proven that he's been a great neighbor. We've taken a blighted piece of property and really tried to make it contribute to the community, and I think this project that we're talking about today does just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner. I'd like to speak in support of this project. We've got a developer here who is invested in the community, and I think it's a real opportunity for this commission to take advantage of this project. We have an architect who has been designing in this area for over 20 years, and he's been just dedicating his life to it. This project is going to give a big economic boost to this area. The job creation that it's going to do, the urban village that it's going to create is really going to be an uplift for this particular area that needs it so badly.
Sir, can I get your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry, Chris Kaluuya, 3030 South Highland Avenue.
Thank you.
Some of the concerns that the opponents have brought up have been some of the items that are already going to be required in planning. There will be some of the traffic studies, there will be drainage studies, and I think that if this commission was to approve this, they'd be doing the community a great service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Doug Williams. I am a property owner almost directly behind this location here. I didn't come here tonight to speak about this, nor am I prepared to, but I can tell you, being a property owner at 1306 Rexford, titled under Dad Investments, I can't tell you how much I would like to see this project happen. I grew up in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is not the same neighborhood that it used to be when I grew up in. It just simply isn't, and I just wanted to publicly voice my support for this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll give you 3 minutes as a rebuttal.
We're good?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so I want to address a couple.
Can we just get your name again for the...
Sorry, this is Ilan Gorodetsky again, the owner of 1213, 1215, 1201 South Las Vegas Boulevard. I want to address some of the concerns that we heard over here. As far as parking, at the moment we have 251 hotel rooms. We have 110,000 people stayed with us last year. This year it's going to be more because we know the economy is doing great. So as far as cars and parking, there is way more now than we're going to have in the 370 units. As far as truck and construction, we can reroute them and make sure that they will not drive through 5th Street, 6th Street. All of our subs will get penalties, literally. We'll make sure that people watch through it. We'll make sure not to impact the parking. If our parking is full, we're going to find a place and park and take buses for the employees. We'll make sure to work with the neighborhood. Now, I want to make something very clear here that I don't know how to explain. We are not part of John S. Parkway. We are not. I mean, just because they wanted to put 5 floors or 3 floors or 10, we're doing everything by right. I mean, it's not coded. There is codes, there is city, there is mayor, there is rules. We can't just come in and say no just because we don't want something. This is what when I purchased the property, I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you guys see this? No?
Right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you see this? This is what I purchased. This was not part of John S. Parkway. Are you guys seeing it? Neither this, right? This was not John S. Parkway because it's historical. How come it's been in this condition if it's historical? They should have fixed this property if it's like this, right? It's historical. This is what it is today. This is when we bought Thunderbird. Aruba, I'm sorry. And this is how it is today. This is how it was for $99 a week. $99 a week, historical. This is how it is today. This is what we get here today. People enjoying, having fun. We're paying room tax, city tax. And I can keep going, and keep going. I mean, this is how it was when I bought this property, another distressed property, 1201 Las Vegas Boulevard. That's how it was. This is how it is today. I did everything I can to support the neighborhood. I cleaned the crime. I spent the money. I hired people. And now, when there is a momentum to do something to change the neighborhood, for once and for all, I'm getting reballoting for no reason. There's no reason for that. And if we go 5 floors by right, like they're claiming, I'll be able to put 500 units over there, because I don't need a buffer. I don't need trees. I don't need anything. So, as you guys hear before, the neighborhoods like it. A lot of people love it. There's more people in it against it. So again, thank you very much for your time and efforts, and I'd like to get your support.
Thank you very much. All right, I'll turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Yes, Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask staff, Peter Lowenstein, is this parcel in the John S. Park neighborhood, or is it not? Is it part of the, do you call this parcel part of the historical neighborhood, John S. Park?
The document for the John S. neighborhood plan it has a boundary for the neighborhood association. The actual historically designated neighborhood, this property is not part of that.
Okay, so could you tell me the boundary line, the street that would be the boundary line behind this gentleman's property to divide, like this is the neighborhood is back here and it's historical, and then in front of it, it's not. So my question is, what is the boundary line heading north and south? What is the street? Is it Rexford? Is it, what is the street? I'm just curious because I don't think that he is in it, and I want to make sure through staff that I'm correct before I vote.
Just give me a moment so I get the actual streets from the historic neighborhood historic district plan.
This is that North and South Street, is, the one that runs behind him. I'm just curious. I think it's Rexford or something, or I'm trying to think what's closer to him, but regardless, you are saying that he is not in the historic neighborhood designated Jonas Park. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair.
Through the chair, I'd like to disclose that I live on the edge of the notification area, but I will be voting on this item because it won't affect me in any greater or lesser way. I will say, I feel like the applicant has put forward a project that is sensitive to the neighbors, adjacent neighbors, with the exception of a few things that I have some questions on for the applicant. The first thing is the central plan. Is that a fully enclosed building?
Yes, it is.
And then the mechanical on that east side that's adjacent to trash room 2, what is that mechanical room?
On the which side?
On the far east, against the residence, essentially.
Wait a minute. For the record, Advance EV&A Architects, 900 South Pavilion Center Drive. Where are we here? On the east side?
Yeah, adjacent to trash room 2, and there's a stairwell, number 4.
I don't have any mechanical back there.
It's just an exit. It's an emergency exit, I believe.
Hold on. Yeah, we put it all on the south side, away from the neighbors. Central plant it'll be a 4-pipe chilled water system.
I'm trying to understand the noise impact on this side of the building. And
We will guarantee no noise and put soundproof and do whatever necessary not to have noise.
And I appreciate that comment, but I will say there's a trash room there, and you can't guarantee that there won't be noise with the trash room there.
That's true. But we have a compactor inside the room, so all compacting will be done.
And I understand that, but I will say that where I live down the street at a high-rise, I hear the neighbors adjacent with their trucks pulling up and the clanking, and I hear it early in the morning every day, and I really would like to see some type of change here that mitigates that.
So how far you live from the trash compactor area?
I live...
how many feet? Like 20, 30, 10, 15, 40? What?
Maybe 30 feet.
30 feet.
And then 100 feet up in the air?
Yeah, this is about 150 feet from residential. 150 to 165. Plus, there is new block wall we'll put.
You're saying trash room 2 is 150 feet from the residential?
Yes.
You know what? In consideration of what you're asking for, Commissioner Cherry, there are 2 compactors, one further to the west. We would make a friendly amendment to move the one that's further east closer to the one that's further west. So I can make that change in the plan.
I would like that. I think that one is definitely too close.
I can make that happen.
And if the mechanical is something that's booster pumps for the building, if there's a possibility of
Move all those to the west.
with the fire command,
Sure.
possibly. I'm not here to
Keep
design
noise
your
away,
building,
please.
but just again to mitigate noise.
Understood.
And then the one other issue I had was with traffic going out on towards Park Paseo. If this project is up for approval, I would like to see that it's a left-hand only turn out when it goes up to Park Paseo. Granted that you couldn't stop people once they get out there, but at least you could steer
We're
people
definitely
that
going to
way.
work with public work on that. We would like to propose that as well.
So that's where I stand on the project. If those changes were incorporated, I can support the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments I'd like to make, and I went to the public hearing the other night and was able to talk to Barbara and Mike and Mr. Figler and Jonelle, and a lot of people from the neighborhood, and so, and there was people in support, and there was also people in opposition to this particular project. And, some things that were brought up, I know that were important to Jonelle, were, dust control and how do we, make sure that we mitigate the dust control, because it is a fairly populated area and an older neighborhood, but we do have dust control permits that the builders will need to apply for through the Department of Air Quality, and if they let dust go into the air, they'll get a fine, and if they let it happen again, it'll be a $10,000 fine, a $100,000 fine. So, as far as the dust, I think that will kind of hash itself out. Staging, that's something that the development team will really need to think about. Where are you going to stage materials? Where are you going to stage vehicles? Because that can be burdensome to the neighborhood in John S. Park. And you don't want people parking on 5th Place and 6th Street and 7th Street and walking over to the project. So I'm not sure how that actually gets worked out. I do like the idea of, having a left hand or having a one-way, not a one-way, but a left-hand only turn sign, and maybe Lucian can, if approved, can kind of give us some advice on how we could handle that. Also heard about construction finance, and is this just going to be another project that is purely speculative, that will, a developer's coming in just to flip the property? I hate it. I hate seeing projects that come before us where developers are just coming forward to get entitlements and flip the property for money. But we really can't tell if a developer is really going forward or not going forward unless they have a track record of not going forward. And Elon has had a track record of actually doing stuff, not on this scale, but on as far as just fixing up the Aruba and some of those other places. And I didn't even know that Elon was even involved with this project. I know you called the other day, but I didn't have a chance to call you back. So, there was one thing that was brought up at the meeting, and I asked the representatives because the architectural team showed trees, and from the first and second floor of, they're 24 or 20-foot tall trees or something like that. And earlier in the day during the presentation, you were saying something about there's a 24-inch box tree at 24-inch or 20 foot on center, and we're doing 36-inch at 15 foot on center. But that wasn't what was brought up the other night. What was shown to the community was trees that were at least 20 feet in height. And I don't know if a 36-inch box tree is 20 feet in height. And I asked the architectural team to go back and ask the developer and come to us tonight and tell us if would be able to provide the 20-foot tall trees. And so my question, if you would like to step forward, are you willing to put not 36-inch box trees, are you willing to put 20-foot tall trees per what the architects were showing everybody in the neighborhood, which would block all the neighbors that are adjacent to your project?
Yes, we do. We will guarantee 20-foot trees at minimum. As far as financing, we have the money cash sitting. That's not our problem.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. And I do understand financing is hard to figure out financing, and one second you're getting financing, the other second you're not getting financing, and and it's hard to finalize a budget until you finally have the plans. And I heard quite a bit the other day about the entitlements, and why is there not a budget put together yet? because if you're going this far along with this particular project, well, we get entitlements all the time on our projects that we build in downtown. I'm building a building next week, and I still don't know what it's going to cost. I already have financing on it, but I'll know before next week whenever I start building that building. But, you know, very, very concerned about traffic. Another thing for Lucian to consider, is there a way that we can craft some sort of condition, you know, that all construction traffic will come off of Las Vegas Boulevard, or all construction traffic must turn left? And, you know, it won't be hard to figure out if there's a whole bunch of trucks coming out and taking a right going into Fifth Place and Sixth Street, because we're going to see the mud and the track out and everything else going in the neighborhood, and then we can go find the developer. So if there's some way that we can craft some sort of condition that no construction traffic is to go through Fifth Street and Sixth Street, I'll let you think on that for a second.
So we will guarantee that people will not go right. And even during the remodeling that we did, 250 rooms. It's 251 rooms, furnitures, plumbing, electricity, everything. It's like a construction. We never had a complaint from the neighborhoods for the remodeling we've done so far.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, and we'll get
So we
Lucian to come
will-
up with a condition, then we'll bring you back up to see if it does go forward, to see if you agree to all the conditions that we'll put on this. And then traffic study and drainage study, all those things will be required. It's required of every project. The very first project that I've ever heard that a traffic study or a drainage study was required on prior to entitlements was the Badlands. But it's not typical that we'll go out and spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on traffic study or and drainage study, or even 50, 60 grand on something that's not moving forward. So, but that's something that definitely get reviewed, and believe me, the city of Las Vegas will throw my plans back at me in a heartbeat if something's not correct. So I imagine they'll do the same for this and every other project that comes before us. But Jonas Park is a you know, very important neighborhood. I did hear a lot of people that were not in support. I did hear people say, would you put a gate in on the back of the community so I can like just come straight in and use the pool? So, I mean, there were people that were in support and there were people in opposition, but I think it's just more of working with that neighborhood, and if you could put in those trees just so you're not like looking directly down into the backyard.
Through you, just quickly, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I'm not going to make
Commissioner
the
Quinn.
motion. I hope Sam can draft it with all the changes. But to these neighbors, I just want to say I am a complete neighborhood activist, and I work really hard at protecting neighborhoods. And if this developer was throwing his first dart, he would never get my support. But when you have a guy that has come down Las Vegas Boulevard and has taken what I call, well, I can't say it because Mr. Perigo would be mad at me, but, you know, something, you know, just terrible, and turn it into something that I never thought I'd see on Fremont Street in my life. I feel like, be careful what you wish for, because if you don't go with something that we already have proof of greatness, you could get something that we don't know nothing about, and that's what scares me. It kind of gives me the chills. So I'm going to support this project tonight, not because I don't support you, and I did see that. You got a little block in there. Not because I don't support the neighbors, but I support the fact that I worry about what you're going to get if you don't take this man's lead. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to support this project tonight, and it'll go to City Council.
Mr. Figler, Mr. Figler, I just can't have speaking from the audience.
It's there. I mean, you're getting that information. It's not a surface plan, and it's being ignored. There is a plan in place. I like to mention that to the record.
Mr. Figler, I understand, and I do respect you a lot. I just really can't have you speaking from the audience.
Can I introduce the plan that's already part of the city into the record? You can vote whatever you
Would anybody on the commission like to see the plan?
What is the plan that you're referring to? The John S. Park
The
historic?
John S. Park plan?
Well, is it, I mean, it's a simple question that Commissioner Coyne asked, is the project within the John S. Park Historical District, or is it not? And that was answered by Mr. Lowenstein that it was not. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something before we have a motion.
Yes, Commissioner.
I love John S. Park. I went to school in John S. Park in the 50s. I love the area, and I love the homeowners, and I love everything about it. I took piano lessons and brownie meetings there. But because this is not technically in the John S. Park area, I don't know how we could deny it, even though I really would like to. I'm really conflicted about this. I really am. I love the area. I grew up here. Las Vegas has been my home for over 65 years, and I understand how you feel this is going to impact your neighborhood, but if you look at the other side, what this gentleman has done to improve the area is really great. And for a little girl who grew up downtown, I can tell you, I thank you very much for what you've done.
And Commissioner Creer.
Thank you. You know, I just want to say that I do like the project. I'm a fan of, you know, John S. Park and the historic districts. I live in a historic area in the west side of Las Vegas. And it's tough because, one, this is on Las Vegas Boulevard. I think we really want to try to develop downtown area, the corridor, to bring more rooftops or more people down there. If you look at the, you know, Glutton closed, Zydeco Cafe closed, we've got this new Eclipse Theater, and I think we really need to get some density downtown. I think this is going to help. The guy's a proven builder who has put his money where his mouth is, and I think, and I don't see any compelling reason not to go with staff's approval on this, outside of the fact that they're on the fringe of the John S. Park Historic District.
Thank you, Commissioner Creer. And Director Perigo, could you please give a little bit of clarification to the plan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The John S. Park Plan was adopted by resolution in 2001. This property is within the planning area boundary. It is not within the boundary of the historic district. The plan does speak about a lot of things, design standards. It does talk about building heights, but it does not have the full force of the zoning code. There was a recommendation that an overlay limiting heights be considered, but that never was considered nor made part of the zoning code. So Title 19 and the Downtown Centennial Plan are really the guiding, the codes that guide decisions on this property.
Thank you. And Mr. Figler, I really appreciate everything. I'm sorry I had to have you calm down just a second ago or like sit down, but I really do respect all of your comments tonight, and I really respect you for everything that you do for the neighborhood and Jonelle and everybody else. And so I mean no disrespect on that. I just couldn't have the back and forth talking from the audience at that point. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
Make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval with the following changes. I'm going to need staff's on the SDR. Oh, yes, excuse me. Okay, on item 21 of ZON 68403, I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Item 22, SDR 68404, make a motion to follow staff's recommendation for approval with the following condition changes. You might want to hang out with this,
Elon,
guys.
Elon?
Yeah.
We have not completed your project yet. Vice Chair.
Yep, so may follow staff's recommendation for approval with the following conditions, that any traffic exiting onto Park Paseo will be a left-hand turn only.
Sure. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Lucian Pyatt, Public Works. I wrote a couple of conditions to maybe add at this point.
Thank you.
The first one, that one would be all egress movements from this site onto Park Paseo shall be limited to left turns only, and no right turn signs shall be installed for the egress movements on the driveways on Park Paseo for that one. And then the construction traffic one, no construction traffic shall be allowed on Park Paseo, east of this site, or any of the adjacent residential streets.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those as read.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to if the landscaping condition, staff would put forward that, one second, that it read that 20-foot tall trees shall be installed along the eastern property line of the subject site.
At a space in not greater than 15 feet. Because I think that's something that Mr. Elon stated that he would agree to do. Instead of 20 feet, he would go at 15 feet.
The plan calls for 20, but we'll go for 15. We'll do whatever necessary to.
15 feet in width and 20 feet in height.
15 feet and 20 feet height at least.
Mr. Chairman, depending on the tree species, you may have conflicts with the tree canopies, so you may want to leave yourself an out with something in line with the best practices as denoted by the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition.
There you
planting
go.
guideline.
Perfect. That sounds great.
And the last thing I'd like to add to it is the orientation of trash room 2, that it is not opened out to the east side of the property. How can we craft that into a condition?
So I'll take a stab at it. And, trash room 2 as depicted on the submitted floor plan shall not open to the eastern property line. Is that correct?
Right.
So it would read, the trash room 2 as depicted on the floor plan shall not open towards the eastern property line. Eastern property line, or the, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Getting confused myself.
And those will be the conditions. So the applicant agree to those conditions?
Elon, if you come forward.
We concur.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's my motion.
Motion's on the floor with the minute conditions. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 21 and 22 will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 23, Advance SDR 68300, applicant Gene Woods Racing, owner TURP 2 LLC, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed commercial recreation amusement outdoor facility with a waiver from Downtown Centennial Plan architectural standards at 222 South Main Street, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. And I'll have to end up abstaining on this matter because I'm under contract with not necessarily Roy, but TUPR LLC.
Through the chair, I also will have to abstain. My company has a contract with TUPR LLC.
And I'll go ahead and turn this over to Commissioner Quinn.
Item number 23 is an abeyance item SDR 68300, site development plan review, public hearing. Applicant is Gene Woods Racing, owner TUPR 2 LLC, for possible action on a request for a site plan review for a proposed commercial recreation / amusement outdoor facility with a waiver from the Downtown Centennial Plan architectural standards on 3.63 acres at 222 South Main Street. This is in Councilman Barlow's ward. Commissioner Creer, staff, please.
Thank you. The applicant is proposing to operate an outdoor go-kart track in the Plaza Hotel and Casino parking lot along Main Street, just south of the existing parking structure. The go-kart track would be composed of a modular ticking office building, modular plastic barricades to delineate the track, and the site is enclosed by existing chain link fencing. The modular building fails to meet the architectural standards, including the downtown Centennial Plan, as well as no screening of the use is being provided. Staff finds that the proposed use cannot be conducted in a compatible and harmonious manner with the surrounding uses and therefore recommends denial of the application. Please note additional letters of support have been received after the publication. Thank you.
Good evening, applicant. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Daylin Woods. Address is 222 South Main Street, Las Vegas. And Roy will be speaking first.
Good evening. Thank you.
Excuse me, name and address, please, for the record.
Roy Zabudovich, 900 South Las Vegas Boulevard. I work at the Plaza and live nearby, just downtown. We've owned the hotel for 10 years, and we believe that this go-kart track is a great addition to the hotel and the area. If there's any issues as the landlord, we can terminate the lease. It's a short-term lease, and we know the operators very well, so we'll work with them very closely. The track does not impede on any future development plans the city is going to have, including the bridge or the connectivity to Symphony Park there. And we're excited to work with the city on any plans they have there. We've reached out to all our neighbors downtown, right next to us and around, and we've heard no complaints. And not only do they support it, they're excited about the project. We've heard no complaints about the site, the sound issues. There's no ordinance that this track doesn't comply with. As the landlord and the owners of the plaza, we believe that it's in the best interest of the area and the best interest of our hotel and our business that's directly next to it. And we're excited and support it.
Thank you. Are you also an applicant, sir?
Yes, Gene Woods, 1808 South 15th Street.
Hello, Mr. Woods. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak against or for this item? If so, please come forward. Thank you very much. If you guys could just step over and let these people have the microphone just for a minute.
Commissioner Quinn, one moment. I'm not sure if she was finished with.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I wanted to just address some of the...
I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. Some of the issues in the staff report
Okay.
that we didn't get to address last time.
Great.
I don't know, I guess the letters I submitted those Monday, so they are on the record. I would like to start with the noise pollution that was an issue.
Right.
In reference to the noise, we feel this has been mitigated. Shown in the picture, we provided, I don't know if we can use the overhead. We used a decimal reader, and also I researched the noise ordinance, and we are in compliance with the noise. Under the enumeration of prohibited noises, we are mufflered go-karts.
Okay.
Secondly, I would like to go into the modular building. The waiver for the modular building, we'd like to bring to your attention that we are on a short-term lease, and this is with an annual renewal. This is the reason for the modular building, as it will be our ticket office and for the safety videos before people go out onto the go-karts. The aesthetics of the building will be pleasing to the eye, complemented by landscaping, as you can see here, which I never did submit before. We got that after, before the last Planning Commission meeting, and I wasn't able to show that last time, unfortunately. Secondly, or thirdly, as far as the screening, we fully comply. If you guys would like that to be screened from the public view, we are more than willing to screen that.
Okay. Excuse me, you did say you're on a short-term lease. Is that 1 year?
We're on a 3-year, but every year it's renewed.
Okay.
And it can be
Okay, so it's thank you.
terminated at any time, yes.
Thank you very much. Are we good? Okay, with
Yeah,
that,
is
I'll
there
close.
anything you would like to
Did you want to say something, Mr. Woods?
I'm here to answer any questions,
Okay.
technical questions or
I
otherwise.
think she answered the ones we had from the last meeting, so that's good. Okay, so now we'll have anybody here that wishes to speak for or against it. If they could please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
Right.
Good evening, Ryan Arnold, 2620 Regatta Drive, here tonight representing the Fremont Street Experience. I don't want to stand here tonight and protest the item per se, but we have all of our members unanimously have responded to us, and by the way, we didn't find out about this until kind of a late hour. But unanimously, all the members do have concerns. Some of those, or maybe all of those concerns, can be alleviated if we have a chance to sit with the applicant and discuss their project. It sounds like we even have some new information tonight. So that's all I stand here tonight to do, is to request that we have an opportunity to sit with them, better understand what they're proposing, better understand the temporary nature of it, and yeah, again, I don't want to stand here to protest. I'd rather have a chance to actually learn a little bit more before we stand before you again. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioner Quinn, members of the Commission. Erin McMullen here on behalf of Boyd Gaming this evening, 6465 South Rainbow Boulevard. And I don't really need to waste much more time other than that we're a member of the Fremont Street Experience and echo the same concerns of Mr. Arnold, and would love to work with the applicant and sit down and talk and learn. We saw some new pictures tonight, so that would be helpful to understand the full intent of the project.
Okay, thank you, Erin,
Thank you
very much. If there is no more people to speak on it, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to the planning commissioners. Did you have something else to say about what the people from the Fremont Street have said?
Just the fact that the last Planning Commission meeting, I don't feel that we were able to speak on behalf of the go-kart track at all.
Right.
So I don't think they got to hear our proposed. We are here to comply. We are here to we want to make the downtown area, nice. We're not here to cause a nuisance or cause a noise nuisance. We're family. We're a family. We don't, we're trying to do the right thing here.
And we appreciate that, and I think Commissioner Creer will want you to think about the fact if you can resolve this in the next couple weeks, meeting with the Fremont Street people, or if in fact we'd have to hold it again for another month, which I hopefully doesn't happen. But with that, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners and let Commissioner Creer speak on it, because this is his ward and his thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, the purpose of us abating it last month was for you to go out and speak with your neighbors in what I thought was going to be the case, seems to be the case. There is some, general consensus that this isn't appropriate for the area. It doesn't fit the downtown general plan. I happen to agree with that, and it's nothing against you or your business. I can applaud the fact that you're being innovative and trying to find a way to generate some excitement and fun and generate business for downtown. I don't believe that it complies, though, with where downtown is going and what downtown is trying to do. If I was going to vote today, I would not vote in favor of it. Now, if you want to go back and speak with the other members of the downtown Fremont Street Experience, and they seem to have opened up a door for you to say, hey, we were against this when we first found out about it, but maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. I think that's an opportunity for you to go back, because although I might not think that it meets where it's going, I do believe that if the downtown consensus says this is what we want, then I think it's important for us to try to help make that happen. That's why I kept stressing to you when I met with you guys to try to, be good neighbors and speak with them. And I know that the Plaza is not a member. Hold on one second. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that the Plaza is not a member of the Fremont Street Experience, and that makes it, somewhat unique, because you shouldn't necessarily be beholden to something and have them dictate what goes on your property for the fact that you aren't a member of them. I get that, but I also get the fact that, we all want a great downtown. I live 5 minutes from downtown. I go to the Smith Center. My first office was downtown on 4th Street. I'm a downtown guy. And so I would ask you if you would like to have this abated till the next meeting. I know it's pushed back another 30 days to meet with them and try to come up with a consensus.
Since the last meeting, we did reach out to, as you asked, many of our neighbors, and it's true that the Plaza isn't a member of the Fremont Experience, but we're the biggest with the tenants and with the landlords of the project, and we're the biggest stakeholders in it. The Bridget Motel, which is right across the street, I believe isn't a member of experience, and they support it, and so does the Smith Center. And we have reached out to members of the experience, and they're in support of it. So,
And then just follow up. Staff is recommending denial, and I don't see any compelling reason that's not self-imposed on your part for not to go along with staff's recommendation. We do go against staff's recommendation many times, but if there's some compelling reason, I don't see a compelling reason. Just add that to it.
Thank you, Commissioner Creer. Before you make a motion, Commissioner Moody wants to say something, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm opposed to continuing this again. This is the second time that the applicant's here. I think it's time for an up or down vote on this. They do have time between now and City Council to meet. The stakeholders downtown could certainly arrange a meeting where they could express their concerns, and so I would like to see it brought to a vote. I would oppose an abeyance tonight. And with that, I just want to go ahead and state my concerns about this. I'm not as concerned about the visual impact of this as I am about the noise, the potential noise pollution. As the staff report tells us, the noise measurements were static tests that don't take into account noise levels during acceleration, nor do they consider the cumulative effect of a number of cars on the track. You get people in a hotel, I understand it's going to be run during the day, but sometimes people sleep during the day in hotel rooms. And for those reasons, this just does not fit. It doesn't feel harmonious and compatible in the downtown area without more. So I would not be in support of this tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Moody.
Can we address that?
No. Excuse me. Commissioner Toussaint, did you have anything to say, or Commissioner Trowbridge? Okay, thank you. With that, Commissioner Creer?
I agree with former chair that you can appeal and get with the members prior to the city council meeting, whatever happens tonight. I think I would urge you to do that. Okay. So I'm going to make a motion on agenda item 23, abeyance SCR 68300, to go along with staff's recommendation of denial.
Thank you. Please vote. Thank you. With that, it passed for the denial. Moving on to the next one, Mr. Creer.
Commissioner Quinn, that item will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Toussaint may have pushed the wrong button. I think she was voting for the denial, so it should have been yes instead of a no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll note that correction.
Thank you.
And regarding abeyance item number 22, excuse me, regarding abeyance item number 24. Go ahead. Oh, well, you didn't, we have to vote on, was it just one? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're done.
Yep. Turn your mic off.
All right, moving on to item number 24, waiver 68775, applicant Pinnacle Homes, owner 2006, Barbara Green Revocable Trust, for possible action on a request for a waiver to allow no street lights where such are required and to allow an intersection offset of 180 feet where 220 feet is required for a proposed non-gated 4-lot residential subdivision on the northeast corner of Azure Drive and Eula Street, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Item number 25, VAR 68774, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow no sidewalk, amenity zone, or curb and gutters where such are required for a proposed non-gated 4-lot residential subdivision, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. And finally, item 26, VAC 68776, for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate U.S. government patent easements on property located on the northeast corner of Azure Drive and Eula Street, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please. Staff recommends approval. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to provide 20 feet of asphalt on the exterior of the proposed 4-lot subdivision and 39-foot wide private drive with cul-de-sac within the subdivision. No other improvements will be provided. Staff is in support of the proposed vacation of the U.S. government patent easements, but is recommending denial of the requested waiver and variance applications. If approved, the Department of Public Works has 2 added conditions to put on the record in relation to VAR 68774. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Lucian
sir.
Pye, Public Works, just wanted to mention those conditions before the discussion gets going. The first added condition would be enter into a covenant running with land agreement for future installation of all incomplete half-street improvements per current city standards on Azure Drive and Eula Street. For any improvements deferred through this action, the covenant agreement must be recorded with the county recorder, and a copy of the recorded document must be provided to the city prior to release of the issuance of permits. And the second condition added would be the proposed sewer line in Azure Drive shall be constructed under pavement as shown on the approved site plan. The design of the sewer line must be approved as reviewed with the construction drawing submittal.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Ray Fredrickson, Performance Engineering, 9345 West Sunset Road, Suite 101. Here representing the applicant, Pinnacle Homes. If I just give you a quick background to this project, we did an annexation on this a couple years ago, brought this project into the city of Las Vegas so that we had the opportunity to connect to public sewer when the interlocal agreement wasn't in place. My understanding, interlocal agreement's kind of back in place, but that was the intent of us bringing this 2.5-acre parcel into the city of Las Vegas. If we were to do the same design in the county, we would not require any waivers or variances to construct this. Simply, our request is to build this per the rural design standards. So no curb, gutter, sidewalk, or street lights. That's really what this amounts to. The patent easement vacations obviously are just a cleanup item to get rid of them. But aside from that, we are just trying to build exactly the same as all the adjacent neighborhoods. I don't know if you need any more background or detail, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. Thank you.
Thank you. This is, no, it says public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a very small project, not, the typical type of application that comes in front of us, but my fellow commissioners know that in Ward 6 there are a lot of rural areas, and frequently the neighbors do not like the street lights in order to maintain that rural feel. And for those reasons, I'm going to support your project. The chairman and I have a disagreement, an ongoing disagreement about streetlights. I'm not sure if he feels any differently on this one. I understand his position. But because I don't know how you maintain that rural feel without those. So I would approve this subject to the as-approved conditions on item 25 that have been stated by Public Works.
Thank you. Please go ahead and make a motion.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 24, WVR 68775. My motion is for approval subject to all conditions.
That motion carries.
Item 25, VAR 68774, my motion is for approval, not only subject to the staff's conditions, but as well as the 2 additional as-approved conditions stated by Public Works.
And how about staff? Were there additional? No, thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries. Noting the abstention of Commissioner Crew.
Thank you. And finally, on item 26, my motion is to follow staff's recommendation for approval.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 24, 25, and 26 will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing as how we've been going for about 2 hours so far, I'm going to go ahead and call a 10-minute recess. This Planning Commission meeting is called back to order. Starting with item number 27, VAR 67970, applicant owner, the Lang and Chang Revocable Family Trust, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow no additional parking spaces where 3 additional parking spaces are required for a parking impaired development at 1212 South Maryland Parkway, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Item 28, VAR 67971, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 5-foot rear yard setback where 15 feet is required, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Item 29, VAR 68417, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 0-foot setback where 5 feet is required for an existing freestanding sign, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. And finally, item 30, SDR 67972, for possible action on a request for a major amendment of an improved plot plan review for a proposed 922 square foot addition to an existing 1,463 square foot dental office, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the site contains a previously approved medical office in which the applicant is proposing to construct an addition. The addition would be located at the rear of the property within the required setback area. The floor area of the addition results in the need for 2 additional parking spaces, which cannot be accommodated on site. Staff is recommending denial of both the variance and site review requests, as the applicant is creating a self-imposed hardship by proposing to overbuild the site. Variance has also been requested for an existing freestanding sign that was constructed without permits and located within both the required setback area and the public right-of-way. Staff recommends denial as the sign could be relocated and redesigned to meet the standards of Title 1908. Please note that there is an additional letter of support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Tim Ayala, 4600 Sunset Road, representing the applicant this evening. And just to doing a little background, you know, this building has been there for 40 years. They did the tenant improvements in 1984, and that monumental sign has been there since then. We couldn't find, we researched, but we couldn't find any permits, but we just saw the building permit that was pulled in 1984. Now, in 2013, they pulled a building permit, a variance, and a waiver for this addition that they supposed to do in that year. They start building, they let it expire, the variance and the waiver, and we came out this time, with, right now we have an existing 11 parking stalls. We came out with, because of the redevelopment street of Maryland Parkway, they're planning and doing, so the expansion of Maryland Parkway, so we lose some parking spaces. Right now, I submit a site plan that you can see it right now on your screen, where we have one handicap, 188 parking, and 5 additional parkings on the side. Doing it in angle and redesigning the parking, we came out with 6 parking stalls. Now, we have 160 square feet of a patio that was not included in the beginning of the first phase of the tenant improvements. I guess it was a patio, 160 square feet patio, and they cover up, and it's been there forever. So now at this time, they put an additional 160 square feet on the 762 square feet that is the addition that we are proposing right now. This dental clinic is been there for 12 years, providing to the community, to the neighborhood, with a very good service. They are low income, so they're providing affordable dental services. Most of the people, they don't have insurance there. The reason being of the addition is because we're going to have an X-ray room and a file room in this building, and a lunchroom. It's not another dental office or another facility to have another dentist because it's just only one, and the receptionist. So we are just having the x-rays room and the lunch room and the file room or storage. Therefore, we talk with the neighbors. Also, the variance for the setbacks of 5 feet, where 15 feet is required, they already approved it, but they let it expire. They had 2 years review. They didn't build it. And now my client is ready to build. So therefore, we respectfully ask you for the approval of this application. And I will be happy to answer any question that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. One of my first questions is, so from the looks of the photo, it kind of looks like this building's a little bit skewed from across the back alley. Are you taking away the parking spaces?
When they redevelop Maryland Parkway, we will lose some parking spaces. Can I show you, Mr. Chairman, the site plan that I have?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Anticipating the expansion of Maryland Parkway, this is the right of way, so we will lose the sidewalk. I mean, the sidewalk, it will be moved to the property line, right here. So we will keep this parking and the ADA parking and these other 4 parking spaces into the property. So we will have 6 parking spaces. But because this is an storage, an X-ray addition for the X-ray room, it's 762 square feet. We don't going to have any more people or coming, you know, we won't have any traffic or any additional members to the clinic. So that's why we're asking for the variance, just thinking in the expansion of Maryland Parkway.
Okay. And a question for staff. The sign that is in the public right-of-way that was non-permitted, I mean, and is Maryland Parkway being expanded, and was this a non-permitted sign to begin with?
Mr. Chairman, through you, as far as I know, we were not able to find a permit for that sign. And the Maryland Parkway right-of-way, as shown on there, is, I mean, that is the right-of-way. It's just that the street at this point is at the curb line indicated.
Okay.
I would defer to Public Works as to whether or not that will be expanded anytime in the near future.
Mr. Chairman, Lucian Pye, I don't have a time frame on Maryland Parkway, but it is a major corridor that they're working on, but I don't have a specific time frame for when it's going to be constructed.
Okay, thank you. I just don't like, I mean, if you had a pylon sign going up and the sign was overhanging the right-of-way, you know, we've looked at that in the past and approved a few of those. But when looking at the U-shaped, you know, design of this sign, I mean, it definitely could impact our ability to put a light rail system or light rail train or expansion of the sidewalk or anything else. And so building on public right-of-way, I don't think I could support that.
Mr. Chairman, would you, I mean, what we can do, because this now is existing, so we have to apply for the variance in order to appear in front of you. What we can do is remove the sign into our property so it won't be actually in the right way or will be in your way if you decide to expand Maryland Parkway, that we don't know when. I don't know if you can make a condition to make it stay there, and when they expand, we basically we have to move it because we have to. It will be into the street.
Mr. Chairman, Division of Public Works, I might be able to help with this a little bit. We used to call them encroachments, now they're called license agreements. We have a condition, number 11, that requires them to do a license agreement. What that does is that when we do have a city project, they sign an agreement that says they'll move it at their cost, basically. So when we come to expand, they have to move it. That's the purpose of condition number 11 on their site development review. So it's kind of in the conditions already.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'm a little torn because, I mean, they're adding 922 square feet. They're not adding any additional parking spaces. You're telling me it's not going to add any additional traffic, but then you're right on the edge of a residential neighborhood. So I'll turn this over to the Planning Commission, either for further discussion or for a motion.
Through the chair, I am torn as well. I will say that without the addition, just the configuration of the building on the site and the parking as it sits is a challenge at best. And I feel that knowing those existing conditions and knowing that that building's been there for some time, I feel like I can support the application, and again, knowing that with that condition, that the sign would move through that license agreement, I could support the application.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Commissioner Cherry. Commissioner Toussaint and I both grew up down in that area, and these houses were there so long ago, you know. So it's kind of a hardship that was imposed on you because that's where you ended up, right? So, you know, that's the way that goes. The sign has to be moved, number one. And number two, the parking, although it's only 5 spaces plus 1 disabled parking spot, it's my opinion that you're not going to overbook and have more people there than not. And if in fact that is the case, I would think that the neighbors next door to you, you could work something out. So if Lucian could draft, or if I could have a condition on that sign being moved, I'll be prepared to make a motion if no one else is going to do it.
Commissioner Quinn?
Yes.
What Lucian was talking about was there's a condition already in the
About the
backup,
sign?
talking about the licensing agreement will have to be executed and he'll have to move the sign in the
Yeah,
future.
right.
So that's already in our backup.
Okay, so that's good to go, right? Okay.
Yes.
So with that, does anybody else want to talk about this?
No.
No. Okay, so we're on number 27, and this is your variance, and this is variance 67970. And I'm going to offer tonight an approval to follow suit with the rest of that neighborhood, and following staff's recommendation with the condition of that sign, which means you're going to have to pull a permit and come back, but you know that's how it goes, right? Okay. So with that, my motion is for approval tonight. Thank you.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Thank you very much. Good night.
You might want to wait, sir.
We're on to number 28, variance 67971. I'm also going to follow, I'm going to make a motion to approve this application, again, because it follows suits with the rest of the street.
Subject to staff's conditions.
Subject to staff's conditions, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Okay, now here comes your sign, number 29, variance 68417. I'm going to follow staff's I'm going to make the recommendation for approval, but you're going to follow staff's recommendation to pull a permit and move the sign. It's going to be a problem, but you can do it. Okay, so that's my motion.
Is that a condition?
The problem? Oh, the condition is in there, you said, right?
Number 11.
To pull the permit and to move the sign.
Is there a condition to pull a permit or just the license and agreement for the sign?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the planning has a condition on the pull necessary building permits for the sign. The license agreement condition is on the site development review, so it doesn't, it's the commission's, whatever the commission would like to do. If you would like the sign moved, then we have a condition that says move the sign.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what was your opinion on that? Just your opinion.
I mean, your motion was on
pull a
item
permit and move it.
29. That's totally up to you.
Okay, well, my motion will be
Mr.
for
Chairman?
approval. Yes.
My understanding is that once the street is widened, he's going to be required to move it, but he doesn't have to move it until then? Is that what I'm understanding?
Mr.
Right.
Chairman, yeah, through you, that's what the condition, the if approved condition says with the license agreement, but it doesn't prevent the planning commission to require him to move the sign at this time.
Well, I don't think you should have to move it till the street's wider. It's
I
just too
agree.
much. Okay, so that's my motion. I'm going to make the motion for approval on the sign. There you
And
go.
that's subject to staff's conditions.
Subject to staff's conditions.
Excuse me, just one question to
Yes.
clarify this. So the sign can stay there and it will be removed when the Maryland Parkway redeveloped, right?
Right.
Yes, if and when Public
Okay.
Works
Right.
requires that.
Thank you.
Okay, and is there one more? Yep. And then we're on,
One
Wait,
second,
what?
Commissioner.
oh, sorry.
That motion carries. And Commissioner Quinn, them having to pull a permit is already included in the conditions.
Okay, thank you. And then regarding item number 30, SDR 67972, I'm also going to make the motion for approval, following all staff's conditions. Thank you.
Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 27, 28, 29, and 30 will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to related items 31 through 33, starting with, yes, Vice Chair.
Through the chair, if I may, my company is the applicant. I will be abstaining from this vote.
Thank you. Item 31, VAR 69103, applicant Cherry Development owner Gil Utah LLC for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 18-foot parking lot drive aisles where 24 feet is required at the southwest corner of Colorado Avenue and Casino Center Boulevard, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial.
Wait a minute now.
Item number 32, SUP 68777. Item 32, SUP 68777, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for mixed-use development, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. And finally, item 33, SDR 68778, for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed four-story, 63-unit mixed-use development, including 3,010 square feet of commercial space, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Can we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing a mixed-use development within the 18B Arts District in the downtown Centennial Plan area. A special use permit is required for this use within the Arts District. The project includes 63 residential units and approximately 3,000 square feet of commercial space. Parking for 33 vehicles would be provided on the ground floor. The parking lot layout does not meet the minimum standard of 24-foot wide drive aisles for 90-degree parking pursuant to Title 1908. A similar project was previously approved at the site with a condition of approval attached that required drive aisles to be a minimum 22 feet in width to allow functional vehicular circulation. The current layout indicates drive aisles with the width down to 18 feet, which would not provide enough functional width for a vehicle to safely maneuver in and out of parking spaces or around corners. Although the proposed use is appropriate for and desired in the area, staff is recommending denial as the associated parking structure is not functional for vehicular circulation. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. If you could turn on, oh, thank you. There,
Is it on?
it's on.
Thank you. Ryan Stieber, General Counsel for applicant Cherry Development. Address 3900 South Hualapai. So as we appreciate staff's report and recommendation, they did mention that this project was previously approved. It was approved by City Council and had full entitlements back in 2009. Based upon market conditions, it's a far more viable project at this point in time. The demographic of the area, it's consistent with the increased demographic for the live-work environment, as well as the additional improvements and redevelopment efforts that have happened since it was originally entitled. To specifically address staff's concern, there's been modifications made to the site plan, or at least the design, that would allow for a 20-foot access at the drive aisle. We would do that by removing 2 of the parking spaces that are adjacent to that access. And this would provide the 24-foot requirement that was recommended. Additionally, as stated, that would adjust the 33 parking spaces to 31, but based upon the Downtown Centennial Plan, there's no standard parking requirement, and the product type is consistent with other product that's been approved downtown, that's active and has been built. So we would request that the commissioners approve this.
Thank you. Grant Garcia, 900 South Las Vegas Boulevard, Las Vegas 89101. I'm with Cherry Development. We've been involved with downtown for over 10 years now. We were the first ones to go out and build the first residential high-rise in downtown, and the second, Soho Lofts and then Newport Lofts. As our council has stated, we actually had this project entitled in 2009, almost identical, and same design on 2 different parcels, one off of 11th Street and then the other one on this same location. At the time, we got pretty far into the process, and due to economic conditions, it just didn't seem like the right time to do it. Finally, fast forward to where we're at today, we do feel like this is a product that is needed downtown, getting more doors downtown, and we're very excited about this project as just getting back into the downtown market and getting more doors and hopefully doing more projects as well. That being said, we do understand staff's concern with the drive aisles. I did try to submit revised plans. We think we do have an alternative that would satisfy staff's recommendations. I did try to submit it on Friday, but of course it was a little bit too late to get in front of you. I just wanted to go on record that we do have a revised plan that does show the drive aisles that used to be 18 feet are now a little over 27 feet. So we're hoping that does satisfy what staff is looking for, and we appreciate you considering our project.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone want to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action. Commissioner Greer.
I have a question for you. When it was approved previously in 2009, you said, right?
Yes.
Were your plans in compliance with the aisles then, or has it changed from the 2009?
That's a good question.
I believe staff said there was a conditional requirement back then that it had to abide by.
Mr. Chairman, through you, that's right. The plans were approved, the project was approved, but there was a condition added for a revised plan that showed drive aisles with a minimum width of 22 feet.
So, but it was submitted originally not with 22 feet, but it was approved with conditions of 22 feet.
Correct.
Okay, so now when you come back, you submit aisles that are not in compliance, but now you're saying that you will be in compliance.
Yeah, the unfortunate part was we didn't realize that where it sat in 2009, so it was almost identical plans. But to accommodate staff's recommendations, we're happy to comply with that, absolutely.
Thank you.
And a question for the applicant.
So the new drive aisles are going to be how wide? So we've got a 22-foot entrance off of the alleyway, and then it goes up to, I think where the issue was in this drive section here. It was originally a little over 18 feet, and so we've now got it opened up to 27 feet.
Okay, because I was looking at the site plan, and that was the only part that I was seeing that was 18 feet, and it's 18, 10 and a half, so.
Right, which was right in this section.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're able to get it up to 22 feet?
Yes.
And throughout the entire site?
Through
And-
Mr., oh, sorry.
And one more question for staff. If they were able to have 22-foot drive aisles, would that satisfy staff?
Mr. Chairman, through you, based on the previous approvals, we've determined that that would be sufficient in this case.
Okay. Well, I think staff didn't have a chance to review the plan, but we could condition it before it goes to city council, just stating that the applicant agrees to submit a new site plan with minimum 22-foot drive aisles, and we need more residential downtown. I thought you were going to say that you're the first person to build residential in downtown. You're the first person to build residential high-rise.
High-rise, yes.
We were down there at the same
You're right.
time
You're absolutely
that you're building the high-rise, building the three-story lofts, so.
Absolutely right.
We were all the pioneers about 12 years ago, so, and you have done really good work, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Quinn? Okay.
Thank you.
Can we get a motion, or Director?
Mr. Chairman, I've asked Mr. Lowenstein to consider or to craft a condition to make sure this is all very clear, because there's a possibility this could be final action tonight unless we have to take it to City Council and with a revised site plan. So, Mr. Lowenstein.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the revision would be actually to a floor plan depicting the first floor, which is the parking garage. As such, a condition such as a revised floor plan depicting a minimum of 22-foot drive aisles shall be submitted to the Department of Planning prior to or at the same time application is made for building permit.
Okay.
And is that condition on the SDR?
That would be on the SDR.
Okay, I'm prepared to make a motion.
And are y'all fine with the add condition?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please.
Item 31, VAR 69103, motion is for approval, subject to all conditions.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. Please post. That motion carries.
Item 32, SUP 68777, motion is for approval, again, subject to staff's conditions.
Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Item 33, SDR 68778, motion is for approval, subject to the as-approved conditions, including the additional condition that was stated.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 31, 32, and 33 are final action unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Item number 34, VAR 68587, applicant owner Betsy and Goodall Living Trust for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 1-foot side yard setback where 10 feet is required for a proposed accessory structure, Class 2 shed at 6141 West El Campo Grande Avenue, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow a proposed accessory structure that does not meet the minimum setback, but could be designed to meet those requirements. The applicant submitted an application for building permit, but was denied based on the setback issue. As no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented to substantiate the request, staff is recommending denial as a self-imposed hardship. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman. Todd Hargrove, 7055 Windy Street, representing Tough Shed on behalf of the Goodalls. We're here to request a variance for a hobby shop garage. It's going to be architecturally compatible. We're going to stucco it to match the house. We are going to maintain a 6-foot minimum setback from the residence. However, with the property line kind of angles off on the west side, we're requesting a variance on that side to go from 4 feet to 1 foot on that side. The neighbor on the west side has no beefs with the neighbor on that, and he seems to have a little bit of neighborhood support as long as the building is architecturally compatible and stucco to match and tile to match.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I see on the plans that the structure is 1 hour fire rated. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct on that west wall, sir.
And it is the neighbor on that west wall that has given you approval?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I know you've met with the Mayor Pro Tem's office. I appreciate that. I think, you know, normally we don't like these variances because setbacks are there for a reason. In this case, you know, for fire. But with the precautions that are in place, I'm prepared to give you my support on this.
Thank you.
Please make a motion.
Motion is to approve item 34 VAR 68587.
Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Moving on, item 35, VAR 68694, applicant owner Forrest Devin Mitchell for a possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 30-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is required and 22-foot rear yard setback where 35 feet is required for new single-family residence on the west side of Homestead Street, north of Horse Drive, Ward 6, Ross. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the existing lot is approximately 163 feet wide by 140 feet deep, and thereby just over half an acre in area. If one was to build a home in conformance to the RE zoning district development standards, one could construct a 7,865 square foot, one-story house with the building area of the lot. The applicant's request to be closer to both front and the rear yard setback is not predicated upon any hardship derived from an exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of the property, and therefore is purely preferential in nature, and staff recommends denial of the variance application. Please note that letters of protest and support have been received after the publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Forrest Michelle, 3324 Nigel Way. I have requested a variance due to the size and the dimensions of the lot. All of the lots on my street are between 200 and 250 feet deep. And as noted in my lot, it's about 140 feet. So I've requested to come forward 20 feet to allow for the space needed for the home. On the back half, I would like to note that there's a 22-foot that I'm asking for. Directly adjacent from that property line is a detached garage of my neighbors, which is 10 feet from the same property line straight across. Their lot is 300 feet deep. So that's really all I have.
All right. Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action, starting with Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any concerns. Big lot. I still think there's plenty of room even with this configuration, so you'll see my support. And I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
Item 35 VAR 68694. Motion is for approval, subject to all as approved conditions. If approved conditions.
Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Item number 36, VAR 68805, applicant owner Stone Assets LLC for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 25-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is required for a proposed single-family dwelling at the north side of Palomino Lane, west of Shetland Road, Ward 1, Tarkanian. Staff recommends denial. And before we go to staff report, I'm just going to say that I am currently under contract with Craig Palacios and Bunnyfish Studios, and considering that we still have ongoing business, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one on to Vice Chair Cherry. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get the staff report, please?
Sure. Thank you. The applicant is proposing a two-story, 6,013 square foot home with an 886 square foot casita on approximately a quarter-acre site. If one was to conform to zoning district development standards, one could build a 3,575 square foot single-story home within the buildable area of the lot, as well as the proposed casita. The applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by overbuilding the site, and therefore staff is recommending denial of the request. Please note additional letters of protest have been received after the publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get your name and address for the record?
Craig Sean Palacios, architect, principal at Bunnyfish Studio, 208 Maryland Parkway, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89101.
Thank you.
Brian Plaster, representative of Stone Assets, 2694 Palomino Lane, Las Vegas, 89107.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the project, please?
Sure. So similar to the previous one, we have a situation where there's a desert, it's the RA zoning, which is ranch, rural, desert, residential. The properties that we're talking about, if you look on the parcel map, let's see if this one comes in, be this guy here. The owner lives next door. This would be a property for his father to move into. If you look at the scale of the properties compared to the others, they're disadvantaged. And the intent here is to keep with the rural ranch development, the scale, the costing, and the appropriateness of the neighborhood. We just ran into a little bit of a snag with regards to, can we get the site plan? As well as it being a quarter of an acre, while the majority of the properties are a full acre, and some of them are up to 4 acres within this area, it's also sort of long and skinny. So in order to get appropriate amount of a garage parking, we struggled to keep it within the range of the front offset, which is 50 feet. So we're requesting a 25-foot variance in that. So it'd still be 25 feet off of the property line, which is in line with at least 2 other properties immediately adjacent on his street to this property.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
I'm attempting to build a home for my father. My mother passed away last summer, and I'm trying to get my father as close to me as possible. So the intent for this home is to have him close by, and I'm trying to, the renderings show a 2-story component, but the house for the most part is going to be a 1-story with maybe a slight small upstairs for 1 bedroom. But I really want to make sure he has a downstairs component. He's 70 years old now and getting up there in age, and I want to make sure he has a flat area to walk around on. So that's all I'd like to add.
Great, thank you. This has been noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to the commission. Commissioner Quinn?
Thank you. I had a nice conversation with Mr. Plaster on the phone a few days ago. Let me just remind all of you that this is a very active, loud neighborhood, and we have no one here protesting this application. I also want to put on the record that Mr. King, directly behind Mr. Plaster, does not have a problem with this project, and therefore he would have been here too as well. The other thing I want to make clear is anytime a residential home comes into this neighborhood, we have to welcome it and work with you, in the hopes that it's not commercial encroachment as time goes down. So with that, Mr. Plaster, it's my pleasure to make the motion for approval on variance 68805, following all staff's conditions. Thank you.
Motion's been put up. Please cast your vote. Motion passes, noting the extension of Chairman Schlotman.
Mr. Chairman, this item is final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Vice Chair, City Attorney, Director, and Commissioners, we thank you for your time.
Is that the councilwoman said?
Moving on to item number 37, VAR 68840. Applicant Bacchus National Transmission, owner Charles F. David and Pini, I'm going to butcher your name, R. David Family Trust, for possible action on a request for variance to allow an 8-foot tall rear yard perimeter block wall with 4 feet of wrought iron on top, where 8 feet maximum overall height allowed at 3030 Builders Avenue, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is before you as a result of code enforcement action, which cited the applicant having unpermitted razor wire atop of existing 8-foot solid block wall. Upon notice, the applicant is requesting to add 4 feet of hooked wrought iron fencing to the existing wall. Staff's recommended denial as the request is preferential in nature. Please note additional letters of support have been received after the publication. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dan Baca, Baca National Differential. I'd like to thank you all for taking my time. I'm a little bit new at this here. I would like to commend this beautiful building. For 25 years, I've had a business in this city, and I'm happy my taxes are looking so nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
I would also like to comment that we have a great community where I work at. This is our staff right here. This is us right here. All right.
Great.
We all do support downtown. We're more than 5 minutes away from downtown. This is the group that keeps all the working people's cars and their kids' cars, the ones where someone comes up and says, I had my car fixed somewhere, now I have no money, can you please help me? Yes. My kid's going to school now, can you please help us? This is the staff that keeps them going. All righty. Yes, we have issues in the neighborhood. We've always had issues in the neighborhood. Yes, we have a neighborhood where we have individuals that get caught up in the disease. All right? Yes, we have drugs. Yes, we try to help them. Yes, there's not one individual here that if they see someone on the street, they will pick them up, feed them, or take them somewhere to shelter. At night, we do not have that control. It's over with. People drive in, all righty? They bring people off the street who are trying to make a living, prostitute them. We have drugs that come in, all right? We have individuals who jump the fences, cut the fences, to take whatever they can so they can sustain a living. This is an alley right here. No lighting. We had razor wire on top. That did not stop them. All right? We requested going a little bit higher on there. Our concern is this. First, it's for the individual. When someone has a disease and they climb over a wall and they cut themselves and they hurt themselves, I come in the morning, I have to pay for that. My taxes, my insurance. We're the liable people. They're the liable individuals. All right? We have to pay for that injuries of that individual. All right, no injuries? Fine. What can I take from this car the quickest where I can get some money to get more drugs? What can I do? And yes, we do have drug enforcement there. Yes, they have cameras. Yes, we have bus there. Yes, they ask us, please put taller fences. Help us so less people come in there. We do what we can. Right? So our concern is this. First, it's the individual going over the fence and hurting themselves. All right? The next concern, the damage that he causes to our customers' cars, your kids' cars. That's our next damage. All righty? Next item. Now he gets to our personal property, things that he steals from us. Right? That's our concern. Now, why is everyone here? We're concerned about Senate presidents. You tell me no for not protecting our property? I'm not going to stand out there and hurt somebody. They're diseased people. They can't help themselves. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put a dog out there to hurt them. Of course not. That's not humane. All right? But I can try to put a fence up there so they do not come in and hurt themselves. We have to protect their rights, our properties, your properties, because you're a customer and you're the consumer. You and your kids will pay for whatever we got to pay out here. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. My name is Doug Williams. My office address is 47 North 30th. I've ran a plumbing company out of that address for over 35 years now. When I bought that parcel of land, it had 8 feet walls, it had 4 feet of chain link fabric on top of it, and it had 12 inches of razor wire on top of that. We're just simply asking permission to keep what we have always had, and know that we appreciate your efforts and we appreciate being allowed to talk to you guys about this. And as important, I do appreciate all my neighbors, because this was thrown together very, very quickly, because we all have the same issues. We all have oversized walls that were built before we ever purchased our properties. We all have razor wire, and the guys that don't, Metro will attest to it. That's the people that are getting broken into, and that's where where they're doing their police reports at. If you go no more than a half-mile north of me on Mojave, you'll see a building that I believe you guys own or were part of, and that's the maintenance facility for the golf course. And when you drive by there, you see 14 feet walls with razor wire. For good reason. I would do the same thing. When you look around the golf course, you see 8 feet walls with barbed wire. For good reason. We're in an industrial zone. This is not a residential area. No little kids are going to get hurt. And I'll ask a rhetorical question, and you can't answer it, but if any of you guys ever seen a crackhead scale a 12-foot wall with no razor wire? And of course you haven't. I have. And he had a battery in his hand. This is our neighborhood, guys. This is what we're dealing with. In building my business, I was there many, many years, from 4 in the morning until midnight, getting bids out and building schools and being a part of the community.
Yes.
It's critical that we get to keep our buildings secure.
Thank you.
And one other thing that I want to add, if I can, I know everybody cringes when they think razor wire. Are you able to make this thing work?
If we can go to the overhead.
Okay.
Okay.
Razor wire can be put up properly. Razor wire has codes that go along with it and installation standards, and whoever did yours at your golf maintenance facility did a very good job.
Sir, I'm going to stop you right now. We're not talking about the golf maintenance facility.
Nope.
And we're not talking about concertina wire. We don't allow concertina wire in the city any longer. So we're talking about this application. So if you want to talk about this, let's talk about this application, but I think you've stated your concerns, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, but it really does go hand in hand, and like I say, the majority of us, when we bought our buildings years ago, all of that was in, all of that was permitted, all of that was, it's been seen before, and it only became an issue when code enforcement came down to clean up the neighborhood. And we appreciate her efforts, because she has, but I don't know where it ends now.
Right, absolutely. I appreciate your time and appreciate you coming down. Thank you.
I promise I'll be short.
Okay, and I'm going to ask people just not to repeat anything that was previously stated. If you want to just come down and state your name and
for the record, Krasimir Teofilov. I'm the property and the business owner.
And your address?
3029 Contract Avenue. I'm directly behind the gentleman who applied for the variance.
Okay.
And I'm just here to say that I support the application. And I just want you to leave this here for the record, and I leave it with you guys. That's what we're facing in the alley. Not a public street, alley in the back. And I want you to have it for records. That's what we're facing every few days, every few weeks. And the only things protecting our business and properties is these walls. And I just want to ask something else, if I may. You guys sent me 3 postcards that I support or not supporting this. They really say they don't receive nothing. I mail all 3 with support.
Okay, thank you. We'll note that for the record.
Add this to, so you can have it on record, why we'll need these fences.
Does anyone else want to be heard?
And just want to say I've been in that neighborhood since early 90s till today.
I'm going to say if anybody else wants to be heard, come forward. Right now, we have 3 microphones. And can we have your name and address?
My name is Philip Higgins, and I represent NV Auto Sales on 73 North 30th Street, Suite 1, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89101. I'm at the end of the street. If you come from Eastern, I'm the first business you come into. Everything everyone's saying is true. Obviously, you know, I'm just here to support Bacchus for their razor wire and their fence.
Thank you. Anyone else? Like I say, if anyone else wants to be heard, come up to the microphones. We have 3 microphones.
Yeah, my name is Victor Ortiz. My business is VIP Collision Center. We're right behind them. We support them, and everything they say is the truth. We got all kinds of problems. We see the pictures, crackhead, you know, they deserve whatever they're asking for. You know?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Don Williams, 3021 Builders Avenue. I have quite a piece right there on that on the next street over from him, right across the street from his building. And I agree with everybody saying we have to protect our properties. We don't do this because we want to, we have to.
Thank you, sir. All right, seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn this over to the Planning Commission for discussion, possible action. I'm just going to say I know the area. It's my ward. I looked at property in this area. I was planning on putting my business in this area at one point. I mean, and it is, I mean, there is that element down there. And I think if what we're really looking at is getting rid of the, and if I could just ask Peter Lowenstein to clarify, we're getting rid of the concertina wire and we're putting on an additional 4 feet of the metal wrought iron fence and on top of the existing 8-foot block wall. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, and there is a condition that requires the removal of the razor wire.
I have no problem with this, and it's an alley, and so if, Mr. Vice Chair.
Through the chair, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
Item number 37, VAR 68840, make a motion for approval, subject to all staff's conditions.
Thank you. Please post. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item will be heard at City Council on April 19th, 2017.
All right, moving on to items 38 and 39. SUP 67480, applicant City Impact Center, owner Trinity Life Center, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a senior citizens apartment use on the north side of Sahara Avenue, west of Maryland Parkway, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Item number 39, SDR 67483, for possible action on a request for a site development review for a proposed 4-story, 66-unit senior citizen apartment development with waivers to allow a 0-foot perimeter landscape buffer along the west property line, a 3-foot buffer along the portion of the north property line, and a 5-foot buffer along a portion of the south property line where 8 feet is required on the north side of Sahara Avenue, west of Maryland Parkway, Ward 3, Coffin. Staff recommends denial. Can we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing a senior citizen apartment complex of 66 units. The proposed complex will replace an existing smaller apartment complex and will be spread across additional lots. A special use permit is required as the applicant is not providing ground level non-residential development and is requesting waivers of landscape buffer areas. The site is located off Sahara Avenue via private streets that provide access easements for all adjoining property owners. A part of the proposed structure would be constructed within that easement area, taking up the existing parking spaces along the east side of the street. If approved, a condition has been added to ensure that the applicant can demonstrate that they have the right to build within this area prior to issuance of any building permit for the site. Parking will be provided off-site at a nearby church parking lot, and a trash enclosure will be provided across the street. The proposed use is appropriate for the area and is compatible with other surrounding uses. However, the proposed development is too intense with basic amenities provided off-site and part of the construction located within the private street. Staff is recommending denial. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. George Chikakis, 2655 South Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 401, Las Vegas 89146. This is going to replace an existing 12-unit development that the church currently owns right now. It is a senior, 66 units of affordable housing for seniors, 1 and 2 bedroom units. And I say really affordable. With utilities included, rents are ranging from $325 a month to $550 a month. I had a meeting this morning with the governor and the Board of Finance to discuss affordable housing in this state. Affordable housing in Las Vegas is the worst. We're number 1 in the country. He asked me, what could we do to create more affordable housing with the resources that we currently have? I want to tell you a little bit about the City Impact Center and what they're doing. The City Impact Center is a division of Trinity Life Center Church. The church faces St. Louis, and I don't know how long a lot of you have been around. That's one of the older streets in the Las Vegas area. This is in a redevelopment area. Next to the property is Baker Park. Baker Park is going to start going through a major renovation process. You know, the church was developed in the 60s. In 1980, they purchased this particular building. It was a medical building. Everybody in the 80s started leaving this area and going farther west and going east in some of the newer properties. They stayed there. They owned the property all the way from St. Louis south to Sahara. This is a private drive. This portion of Sahara is a private drive. They're really not impacting anybody by parking off-site and taking the parking away to be able to build this particular senior development. They have the old Lee office building, if you recall, which is now a charter school, which they run. So they're really reaching out to the county and the city as a whole and trying to provide service programs for our residents. And that's the same thing that they're trying to do with the seniors to provide affordable housing. Ask any questions that you might have in regard to it. I've been entrenched here for 28 years in Las Vegas, been developing affordable housing, and this will be a development that I will participate with them with for 25 years. So I'm not going anywhere. We make 50-year commitments to the state. We're going to be there. Excuse me for interrupting you, please.
Thank you, sir. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Barbara Downing Fraser. I reside at 10108 Folsom Drive, and I own the property at 900 East Sahara, which is the property, a property that backs up to the proposed area of expansion for the senior housing. I have a cell tower at that site that I've owned and had in place for 20 years. My concern is that this 4-story building may impede the communication to my cell tower. I apologize. I called on Wednesday and they had not put the site information up, and I got to look at it late Thursday, and when I called Friday you were closed. So I did not speak to someone to be able to see the plan until Monday, and I have a call out to my cell tower developer but do not have specific information. But again, it just makes sense to me that something of this height would impede the communication to my existing tower, which I've owned for 20 years. I am retired, and that provides part of my income.
Thank you.
I can address that if you'd like.
Anyone else wanting to be heard, please come forward.
Sorry.
Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, ma'am. I'll give you 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
In last year, when the Trinity Life Center Church contacted me about developing this property for them. We did reach out to the cell tower providers in this area. We told them we have a maximum height on the building of 50 feet. It is not going to exceed 50 feet. And we have letters from them, from those operators, telling me it's not going to affect their service. That's the first thing that we did before we started our development phase into this. Certainly you can, absolutely.
Sir, you can talk to the lady after the meeting, but...
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Not while you're up here. Go ahead and turn this over to Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you. So you have letters from her cell tower company?
I have from 2 cell tower companies that are
Okay, well,
located there.
here's the deal. I think what we need is one directly from her cell tower company, because, you know, this is her livelihood, and I don't have the answer to this to
Certainly.
feel comfortable even voting on. I mean, I think this is a wonderful project, and I think that this is needed, and I love the church joining with a nursing home per se. But unless if our staff, Peter Lowenstein, can answer the question about the cell tower thing, I think it's just a really important question we need answered before we should move forward on something like this. So that's just my opinion, but do we have the answer to that, Peter?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, we do not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Through the chair, if I may, question for staff. If I remember correctly reading this, wasn't there a concern about the cross easements and the actual, the site plan impeding that?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that's the access easements that are laid across the private street that I talked about. We have the first condition that basically requires that they provide proof that they have the ability and the right to build across those easements prior to issuance of any permits. So they will have to prove that yet.
Great, thank you. I really can support the project. I don't see any issues with it personally.
Yes, Commissioner Trowbridge.
Chairman, what is the height of the existing cell tower? Height?
You know, I do not know, Commissioner, the height of it. That was my biggest concern when I started this last year with the church, was to reach out to the providers on that. And there is an AT&T provider, and there's also a Verizon provider.
I understand how it works.
Yeah.
The lady that has their income is dependent upon this. You don't know how tall it is either? Pictures.
Commissioner
They're not
Trowbridge,
that tall, the towers.
If you'd like to bring her up to ask her a question, you
She
can.
doesn't know. She's only got
Okay.
a picture.
All right, thank you.
Most of them are 60 foot though. So it's not a problem.
I do have a question. One of the issues that staff pointed out was trash enclosure for this development is to be proposed off-site on a different parcel number, and then enclosure would be located at the edge of a private access easement and unscreened from view. Why are you asking for unscreened trash enclosure?
You know, the trash enclosure is across the street on their property. Currently, it exists right now, and it's unscreened. We don't have a problem going off-site and putting an enclosure, a screened enclosure on that. So if you want to make that a condition, that would be, we don't have that, we don't have an issue imposing that kind of condition on us.
Would city staff have any issue with that, imposing the condition?
Mr. Chairman, we wouldn't object to that condition. I would just know that these are private streets where the property lines go to the center of the street, so it's not like it's adjacent to public right-of-way.
Through the chair, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
On item 38, SUP 67480, I'll make a motion for approval and amending or adding the condition that the parking enclosure is closed, screened. And my motion's for approval. Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, would that go on the SUP or the SDR?
Mr. Chairman, that would go on the SDR.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll remove that condition, but the motion is for approval on item 38.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final
Sir,
action.
Director,
Sorry.
1 second.
Through the chair, item 39, SDR 67483, I'll make a motion for approval with that condition that the trash enclosure is screened.
And you agree to that condition?
Oh, I agree to it, yes.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, items 38 and 39 are final action unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Through the chair, if I may, if the applicant could also speak with the woman about the
Oh,
cell phone
absolutely.
tower. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioners.
You're welcome. Moving on to Director's Business, item 44, TXT 69157, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request to amend Las Vegas Municipal Code 19.12 and 19.18 relating to the nightclub use and to provide for other related matters. Staff has no recommendation. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman, this amendment provides a revised definition of the nightclub use, as well as revisions to operational standards and locational provisions. This amendment will accomplish the following. It will redefine the nightclub use to remove the 50 square foot area threshold and to remove specific hours of operation. It will make the nightclub use conditional in the CM and M zoning districts, subject to residential distance separation. It will add provisions to exempt nightclubs from residential separation requirements if located within a non-residential gaming establishment in conjunction with a hotel having 200 or more rooms, or a resort hotel having 200 or more rooms, the pedestrian mall or Fremont Street experience, and the downtown entertainment overlay district or Fremont East. And it will add the general on-sale business license as an allowable license type.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone wanting to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Turn it over to the Planning Commission for discussion and possible action.
Through the chair, if there's no discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
On item number 44, text 69157, I'll make a motion for approval.
Please cast your vote. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, this item will be forwarded to City Council in orders one.
Item 45, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium, give your name for the record. The amount of time and discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of in time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Chairman Moody. I keep doing that. I called you chairman for 2 years. So
No.
Commissioner Moody.
No problem. I just wanted, we may have done this at the beginning of the meeting, and I may have been reading my notes or something, but wanted to recognize our newest planning commissioner, Donna Toussaint, and glad to have her on board.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting.